Travelers on the Omnibus occasionally touches on mature subject matter with mature language. As such, the audience discretion is advised.
Welcome, y'all, to Travelers on the Omnibus, a field trip through nerd and pop culture. My name is Brady Davis, and this is an in-joke for only 4 people out there, 3 of which are in this room with me.
I want some liver and onions. Hold the onions, literally.
How would you like your burger? Okay, it's medium.
I drink my water two-fisted.
We have 4 employees.
And 3 of them are working their guts out.
I'm so lost and I don't want answers.
I'm sorry, sir. Are there onions on your...
All hail Po folks! The food was actually very good.
The food was actually pretty good.
It was
Okay,
okay.
gotcha.
They had to. They
wasn't
had to,
bad.
They had to refire your liver, and they did it in 10 seconds. It was amazing.
No, they just scraped the fucking onions off the shit.
Shit, spoilers!
Oh, yeah.
Damn it! Po folks.
Apologize.
I apologize.
It was hard.
Where are my manners?
On their list of country vegetables was macaroni and cheese. Show me where the fucking vegetables are in those fucking macaroni and cheese.
Is of course thought to be a vegetable in the South.
It was a cross between trying to read Cajun and Southern on the menu.
As put through Google Translate from a man from Japan.
Like I said, I do not want answers to the questions.
So,
There are no answers to your
You and
questions.
me are going to Pensacola one of these days, and we're
Say
going
your
to
name
Po
so we can
folks.
start talking about
I'm
this.
Jody Kite.
I'm Ethan Skinner.
I'm James McCarthy.
Yeah. Po folks is the idea of, so you know how Outback Steakhouse, the people who started it,
Not Australian.
aren't Australian, have never been to Australia.
They're
It's
from
just,
like Wisconsin. Or
yeah,
something
it's just like somebody from America's idea of Australia, if only filtered through like Crocodile Dundee, basically. This Po folks is the same thing except for the South.
So it's if someone watched Waterboy and decided to make
No, it's
vegetables.
Beverly Hillbillies.
Yeah.
Gotcha.
If they only knew about the South from
The
From
1990s
what
Beverly
somebody-
Hillbillies.
No.
Yeah.
no, it's
No.
somebody poorly explaining to them the Beverly Hillbillies.
From the 90s.
That's how it is. It's a themed restaurant that's theme is the South.
So is Cracker Barrel, okay?
No,
no.
Cracker Barrel wishes it had the
Yeah.
theming of Po
Yes.
folks.
Oh, it's great.
Cracker Barrel can only dream of the insulting bullshit that Po. I walked in and I was like, I should be insulted, right? This is like insulting, right? Right?
They were understaffed that day. And I just kept drinking water because it was very hot and I was the driver. So I was I'm tense. I was like, I don't want my 3 friends to die on the way to Pensacola. That'd be a really bad epitaph. And so it's like, I'm just drinking. Every time she would bring a glass of water, but every time she would put the glass down or put water in it, she would add more ice than water. And so at a point there was more, the ice was overflowing the glass. And she was like, that's entirely too much ice. Let me get you another glass. So she gave me a whole glass with just water in it. And so I've got a glass with water and a glass with ice and water. And I start, fuck it, we're at Po folks, two-fisting. I'm just two-fisting water.
We really should have took pictures so we could read
That's
like
true.
what the explanations.
Oh yeah,
like,
because people would think we're being insensitive if
Right.
we didn't actually
no,
show
it's
the
literally,
actual stuff on there.
It's literally like that, and I'm like, man, this feels racist, but I don't.
Do you
but
like chicken gizzards? They're an appetizer.
Yeah, it's like
Appetizer.
everything is like so stereotypical. There's like pictures of houses painted white and willow trees
And shutters.
at the
There were a
top
lot
and
of shutters
There
on
were
the wall.
so many shutters
There were so many-
everywhere.
there's
there
so
were
many
shutters
shutters.
on walls.
With
There
no
were
windows.
no windows or
windows.
entryway going into another room.
No
just
windows.
shutters.
Like, have you ever been to Lambert's Cafe in Foley?
I've driven by it.
Okay, well they
Close
kind
enough.
of do that where they do kind of the we're not gonna write something with G. It's just gonna be in apostrophe. You know, it's fixins.
Yeah,
you know,
fixins.
things like that. This like takes it even further than that, and I'm like, man, like it's almost incomprehensible gibberish.
It
and
is.
I've lived in Mississippi my entire fucking life.
Yeah, same.
I've lived in South Mississippi my entire fucking
Same.
life. And I was like, what the fuck is this?
We all had to read the menus for like 10 minutes to try
Yeah.
and
We
fucking.
had to read the menus to each other to cross-check that what we were saying was
Yeah.
correct to one another.
It was almost
And
another language.
I'm gonna say it again: chicken gizzards,
As an
appetizer.
appetizer,
Yeah.
yes.
That's a threat.
Yeah.
That's a threatitizer.
I think there was an appetizer version and a full meal version of it, if I'm not mistaken.
Who's getting a full meal?
No, it was chicken livers and chicken gizzards together as was the meal.
Gizzard livers.
Yeah.
Are you going to check? Are you going to check Yelp for the
This
menu?
place really exists.
It really exists,
And there's more than
no,
one.
No, it's okay.
Yeah.
It's
wait,
okay.
hang on.
just
There's
just
more than
randomly scroll and speak one of these into existence.
Special thanks tonight to Ms. Annie Langford, one of our studio
yes,
audience.
the getting started.
Yeah.
Uh-huh.
Yep.
Yeah.
Getting started.
Jesus.
Yeah. Yeah.
Oh dear Lord. What
Yeah.
is this?
Uh-huh.
Yeah.
You're trying to read it.
Naked chicken breast.
Yeah. Mhm.
Naked spelled Nekkid.
Yes.
Uh-huh.
Yes.
Uh-huh.
Literally nothing was spelled correctly.
Yes.
Yeah.
Chicken and dumplings.
Yeah.
That, eaten high on the hog.
We did
Fried
more.
green tomatoes.
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 Yes,
Tomatoes.
there was
Tomatoes.
they put it up. Yes.
The whole shebang salad. Yeah.
The whole shebang comes with a steak and probably 5 shrimp.
Yeah.
Our famous
Be careful.
Be very careful.
country fried steak dinner.
How is the country spelled?
KU.
Kuntry.
Yep.
Oh, that being said, the meal was delicious.
The meal
And
was
we were
good.
fully entertained.
The most of it was by ourselves.
Yes.
I am surprised we didn't get kicked out.
I
to be
legitimately
honest.
want to thank our server because
Oh, yeah,
again
she
they
was
were
great.
understaffed and she kept everything
She
going.
was great. You weren't important enough for me to remember your name. I'm sorry.
The
but,
travel to the bathroom was terrifying.
Oh, wait a minute. Wait a minute. He's found another thing on the menu.
The
Hang on.
beverages are called whistle wetters.
Yes, they are.
We have more studios. We have our friends Logan and Seth from work, and they're just looking at each other. It's like we're going to Po Folks, baby.
This place
This is how
exists.
it's gonna work.
Oh dear Lord.
It's next to TBS Comics, which has got like comics and RPG stuff, Magic, the whole shebang bang. It's a full on game store.
That was
a very
the
good game store.
longest walk to a bathroom I've ever had in my life.
My favorite part is I gotta have a cigarette, and you're walking out, and we all knew the signs were there, but you didn't.
Yeah.
And so I get up there, but Jody. The outside is a no smoking area because they have signs saying no smoking area on the outside, and it's like, and he's just like, God damn it!
And what did I do? Take 2 steps and light
And
a
then
fucking
lit the
cigarette.
fucking cigarette
Yeah.
up. There you
Yeah.
go. That's what you got to do at Po Folks. And apparently at
And
TBS Comics, those are those
Pensacola,
signs.
yeah.
Pensacola, Florida. Don't you dare smoke in a curtilage.
Yeah, that's man. It's
This is an experience I need to witness.
like it's
We got to do another traveling with the omnibus again. This time, bring the actual members of the omnibus, and maybe
Jesus
some
Christ.
other
I
victims.
don't know if my
mean,
mind
passengers.
can take going to Po Folks again.
Be great.
Look out, moon pie. What?
Yeah.
That's something you say to someone shortly before. Never mind.
Yeah.
Look out, moon pie.
Yeah, we all it was I don't know what the fuck you say about that shit.
I have to get this out.
We
of my
talked
head.
about it halfway.
You cannot truly explain
Halfway
it. It has
home,
to
we
be
kept
It has
talking
to be
about it.
experienced.
Unfortunately, no one can actually understand what Po Folks is. You have to experience it yourself.
It's like a different like I'm like what the fuck is like I feel like I was in a different time.
Yeah.
It's like the red pill for Cracker Barrel.
Yeah.
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 You're gonna see how far down the rabbit hole goes. At the end is
Yeah.
gizzards.
Yeah.
That's what the founders of Cracker Barrel wanted originally, was
Yeah.
the Po Folks.
Yeah.
Po Folks, we're pro-choice so long as you choose macaroni and cheese on our farm vegetables table.
Yeah. I mean, part of that had to be farmed probably to get it. So
Show me a macaroni plant. Show me.
If there's legit macaroni plant, one, capture it. We need to study that shit and reproduce it. Second, we kind of need to get on with the show.
yeah,
Po folks' reach extends from beyond.
So
Press
yeah,
stop.
they threatened you with talking about Po folks last week, and we came through with that threat.
Yes.
So let's
We're
see.
nothing if not promise keepers.
Let's talk about what we've been doing. Jay, what you been doing?
All right. Video games mostly for this week.
Okay.
There was a sale on Xbox Series stuff on Steam,
Oh, okay.
and I picked up the Master Chief Collection, really just for 1, 2, and 3. But if you're going to give me extra games for $10, I'm totally okay with that. So I got that.
Nothing wrong with that.
And then last night I picked up the Command and Conquer collection that is now on Steam.
Oh,
You
okay.
can get it by getting a monthly subscription to EA Play.
EA Play on Steam.
For just $10 a month, you can play every game EA has ever played, and some of them are good. And or you could just pay $15, I believe, which I think the bundle is still up right now. You can pay $15 right now and get every Command and Conquer game that was good, and Command and Conquer 4. So that's good there. But I'm a huge fan of the Red Alert series. Red Alert 2 is my favorite fast action RTS.
It's really
because
good.
those games end up going like 6-7 minutes and you're done.
Right.
Like if you go past 7 minutes on that, both of you are trolling each other and are probably on Steam trolling the audience. That's how that works.
There was a time I was living with
I said Steam, I meant Twitch. My apologies.
I was living with a buddy, Nicholas Krebs. Shout out to Nick.
Yeah.
He convinced me to play Red Alert with him.
The original Red Alert?
Original Red Alert on Steam, and like 2 months in, it ended up me, him, and I believe Jody. You came over and we
well,
played.
I was playing.
We're all in our like separate rooms, and Nick did something to Jody, and I just hear Jody go, "You motherfucker!"
Yeah.
Speaking of the Master Chief Collection, like Halo 2, there was plenty of times we had a
Split screen.
The split screen.
We had one TV over here in the
LAN
room, but the other
party.
TV over there in the
LAN
room.
parties, yeah.
Most people don't think about it, but the proto Xbox Live was Halo on LAN at people's houses.
Right.
Like college, I think we had a buddy and 3 other people that rented out the condominium, like a condominium style apartment. And so we had 4 rooms where 2 people could be in each room. And so we had like 8-player LANs going on. Like, and that was amazing. Getting the tank, you found the murder button. You just basically park on one end of the field and just keep firing over in that general direction. Eventually things would die.
Well,
It was great.
We'd often play SWAT guns, which is SWAT style, which is no shield. And shotguns, just everybody has shotguns. Or we play swords, where it's SWAT style with just swords.
That's pretty good. I like that.
Yeah, that was really fun.
Yeah, I want to bitch about Call of Duty real quick,
Sure,
just very
sure.
quickly, because
Go for
that around like in the 360 era when Modern Warfare, the original Modern Warfare hit out.
Yeah.
Hardcore mode, I get it. It's like not all the bells and whistles. That's cool, and it's supposed to be a harder mode and it's supposed to be quote unquote more realistic. Except you could just get accident. You could shoot someone in the toe and they just immediately die.
Yeah.
Like
Yeah.
no, that's not. There will at least be a bleeding out process of like 3 minutes
so,
with
like,
screaming
I never
and
played-
praying for their mother.
I never played Call of Duty, but my friends played Call of Duty, and I had to watch them play Call of Duty so fucking much, and they only ever played on hardcore mode, so I didn't even know that like you like had a bleed out or anything. I was just like, oh, you get shot, you die. It took me forever to find out. Oh, they're just playing on a specific mode.
Yeah, and then later on in the series, up to a point, because I stopped playing like several games ago, we would just, when the Black Ops series started, we would just play every Black Ops game that would come out for the most part. But they got, I don't know if it's changed any, but it got to a point where I think it was like Black Ops 3, the hard mode, you still had to shoot them like at least 2 times, maybe 3, depending
Black
on.
Ops 1 is low key one of the best video games of all time.
It's a really good one.
and Ops 2 is probably one of my favorite multiplayer experiences of all time.
It's super fun. Super
So
fun.
I do want to give shout out to that in that regard. And now it's just been
It's
fucked
just
to
shit.
death into
Yeah.
a pile of burning caca.
So many hours spent playing zombies with my brother, and very enjoyable. But the mainline Call of Duty game, I can't enjoy it. Like the
I've
online
never really enjoyed
like
them.
The online multiplayer, I could not.
Zombies never got for me because I played a similar game. This will always creep up, and I have to admit, if I'm being honest, Left 4 Dead might be top 5 video game all time for me. It's just I haven't
It's
played
definitely
enough,
my top 5 multiplayer.
But Left 4 Dead 2 perfected it and,
Yeah.
and was great. And I really wish Turtle Rock Studio and the people that would have stayed under the Steam or the Valve umbrella.
Right.
I think we would have gotten a better. Than
Back
I was back for Blood, yes, but also I was about to say Giant Turtle Massacre, but it's called Evolve, and I couldn't think of the name for it.
That
But
works too.
Yeah, I think if they'd stayed under Valve, because Valve, it's weird. They have a profit motive. I'm not going to say they don't, but they don't have a profit motive where they have other people who own them. Valve is pretty much self-contained,
Right.
So they can work on something and kind of process it and proof it out and have it kind of work the way classically I think the best video games have ever done, which take the time to work the development in and send it out. I think now on the flip side of that, it's the reason why we never got Half-Life 3 or Half-Life 2 Volume 3, which would have been the collection
Or
of Half-Life
Portal 3.
Or Portal 3 or Team Fortress 3 or Left 4 Dead 3.
Right.
Yeah.
What's the joke? They can't count the 3 over at Valve. Just the way it is. But the games that they did produce
Were amazing games. Yeah.
They have to be. Like Dota 2. We'll never see a Dota 3 for that very reason. But yeah. But that's what I've been. It's a whole lot of video games. Also, just a quick thing: Crisis Protocol, the Marvel miniatures game. I've been painting the New York City apartment building, and it's been a lot of fun. But there you go.
All right. Yeah, you show us pictures. It looks pretty cool.
Thank you.
I like the black light stuff that you've been doing.
Yeah.
With the
I want
neon
to
side.
get some actual fluorescent because that was done with fluorescent ink.
Oh, fluorescent ink.
And it really worked on the OSL off of the actual neon. But I would like to go back with actual paint and hit that, and then maybe hit a little bit back of that titanium white from Pro Acryl, which that's my favorite white paint right now in the world because that stuff is smoother than any white paint I've ever had to use. And if any miniatures painters or just painters in general are listening to this right now, you know exactly what I mean. When if you can find that like just where you can paint it on and it just goes on, and you don't have to worry about chalkiness or sticking in the brush or sticking on the medium, sticking on the palette that you're working on. It's fantastic.
I was talking with Greg because they got a display of the Army Painter Fanatic series.
I saw that.
And he's been hearing good things. One of the D&D guys got one of the yellows, and he said like it went on one coat, like it was very good.
I may just have to buy one again. Mini painters specifically.
I will probably
because
I think I need a yellow. I need to figure. I was telling him like I need to figure out what I need because I got to go through my stuff and see what I need for the stuff that I'm about to start painting. Trying to start painting, but yeah.
Yellow and white paint typically don't have the coverage other paints do. I don't know if it's because of the specific pigment or if it's because of the mediums you have to use to mix with the pigment, but they always kind of have this streaky effect where you have to kind of go back 2 or 3 times.
Yeah.
And that's more of a test of patience than it is a test of skill. If you can just get down, it's like, okay, I need to go over this, you'll be fine. But to get like a closer to one coat and done, that I'm willing to what was like I think 4.5 for
I can't
a pot.
remember what the
I'm willing
price
to
is,
drop
but-
that once just to see what it'll do like.
Yeah, and they've got some interesting like effects paints there that look pretty interesting. So yeah, just figuring out what I need. So Ethan, what you been doing?
Last week I said I was playing the Kingdom Hearts series.
Yes.
And I got some backlash from the person sitting to my left a little bit. But not
I wouldn't say backlash.
Yeah, full on fucking threats. That's what you got.
I was playing that, and I remember I was also thinking about how Jody was saying that he was watching the Fallout series, and it got me to thinking like I've never truly played a Fallout game before.
Yeah.
I tried playing New Vegas when I had a PS3. But Dylan ruined that experience for me for manually saving in front of a why can't I
Deathclaw.
Deathclaw,
Okay.
Yeah, that would do it.
Yeah.
yeah, and so I was like, oh, this is the softest soft lock I've ever experienced in my life without starting.
That's a
over.
rough one.
Yeah, you
Yeah.
hit the button and
Yeah.
are immediately dead.
Yeah.
That's
Yeah.
great.
Oh, reload
Wait,
to
so
your
what
last
you're saying
save.
is Bob Shinedown did this
Bob
to you?
Shinedown
Oh
did
my
this to
God.
me.
Be glad
yes.
it wasn't. You didn't have the mod going where they stretched the Macho Man's face over Death Claws. Yeah. It is.
I think that probably would have made the experience a lot better.
The best macho mod of all time will still be Skyrim with macho dragons.
Yeah.
Macho Dragon.
A dragon picks you up and goes, "Boonsoy's ready," and he throws you, and you're dead.
Yeah,
And
look
what
at
can you do?
look at the Deathclaw mod for that. It's
I
pretty
got
fun.
you for 3 minutes.
It might have actually been Fallout 3 that they did that mod for. I can't remember. It's been so long, but it's disturbing.
So you've been playing
So
Fallout.
been playing
I'm
Fallout.
playing Fallout 4 for the
Fallout
first time.
4, okay, yeah.
I'm enjoying it a lot. I just finished clearing out the raiders in the Lexington factory.
You fool. I'm kidding. Go ahead.
You fool. That's a task that I have to do, dude.
No, you befriend them, and then
you don't have to do that.
No, because they're actually union workers. So you're fell on the side of corporations. How dare you?
Yeah, well, they shot at me.
You
so.
fucking scam.
Okay. Yeah.
After you
scab.
wiped them out, did you sleep on a bloody mattress?
No, I got the fuck out of there.
Yeah.
Because you get to the final area of the factory, and there's a terminal that allows you to turn on the Protectotron.
Yeah.
And they kill everyone. I'm like, cool. I'm gonna go loot the bodies real fast. I hover over. I hover the little reticle over the Protectotron, and it's in red. I'm like, that's not good. It looks at me and just starts shooting lasers at me. I'm like,
Yep.
this is not fun at all.
One of the radio stations you can listen to in that game has Dion's The Wanderer in it. And I mentioned that so I can mention Video Game Donkey because his video of that, he changes the lyrics to the best lyrics that have ever been in that song. Where I'm the kind of guy who will never settle down. I fuck him and I leave him, and I'm a real piece of shit. And it's like, I can't unhear that. I can't unhear that now.
Yeah.
And if I ever hear that come up, like every so often, for some reason, I'll be on YouTube and one of the ads playing will be like for like oldies fucking music,
Yeah.
and then Dion will show up, and I'm like, that's not the words of the song anymore, Dion. I'm sorry, it's changed.
Yeah.
Let me give you a little piece of advice.
Piece of advice?
Yeah, for Fallout 4. So in Fallout 3, if you maxed out your charisma,
I'm actually going to say play Fallout 3 first. I'm sorry. Keep going.
you should just play Fallout 3. But
Okay.
if you maxed out your charisma, you would still not win every conversation when you were like, trying to, get through a quest just by conversation. There were still parameters where you could lose that. If you get 10 in charisma in Fallout 4, you win every conversation. That was like one of my, I didn't even know that, but that was the first stat I put all the way at 10. So anything that's in red, pick that one every time when you're in 10, and you always get the best benefit out of it.
I didn't know how to go about my special stats. And I dumped luck. Which from
Luck is ridiculous.
Yeah, which what Derek Anderson, shout out to Derek, said that I made a stupid and grave error.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, you don't want to be low luck because then weird shit starts happening. It's all bad.
Yeah.
As I'm leveling up, I'm kind of like leveling out all the base stats and then going into the perks. I think right now I have expert lockpicking, advanced hacking, and I did get Aquaboy because sure, why not? I can swim without harm.
Our studio audience are giving each other thumbs up. Gentlemen, what are you referencing? Fallout 4. I bet you they know secrets about Fallout 4. You don't. Oh, he has a 1 in luck, you poor bastard.
Damn.
You made a grave error.
Yeah, that series is one that I like and I enjoyed what little I played about it, but I do not have the focus. When they just say like, here, just walk in a direction and do something, and I'm like, fuck, you got to give me more than that,
like,
guys.
Hey, here's a task for you. Go to Diamond City. Diamond City's on the other side of the fucking map.
No, Fallout 3 doesn't even do that. When you get out of the vault, it just goes here.
Here you go.
Yeah.
Jesus.
Here's this
And I'm
open
like,
wasteland.
Fuck. What
Now,
how do I? What
They
do I
give you
even
a visual cue. Oh, that has a giant atom bomb in the middle of it. I should maybe want to go visit
You
over
have
there.
to walk like 3 minutes before you see
Takes
that
a
shit.
minute. It takes a good minute.
Right when you get out of the vault, you don't see that.
The first time I played Fallout 3, I found the hotel first.
I came to this building that just had people in it who immediately shot at me. I was like, "Oh fuck!"
That's
shit.
probably the hotel. That might be the
There was nothing like
the
like
10-penny
story.
hotel? You went straight west to that
Yeah. There
was-
garbage heap of a
There was nothing.
place.
There was nothing there. It was just like a place with, I guess, raiders or whatever.
Oh,
there.
okay.
My
Gotcha.
favorite thing in the Fallouts from 3 afterward is you have a conversation with your big bad, and then you go immediately fighting. So then you have your rocket launcher equipped, and you go into vats, and you just keep pointing at their head with the rocket launcher, and you just explode them, and then the fight is over. You've won everything.
I do know there's an area like very early you can get the rocket launcher to launch like the fat man
mini
and the
nukes.
mini nukes.
Yeah, the fat man. Yeah.
I have not found it. I need to find it.
There's an ultra secret. It's an ultra. I'm talking like you, Ethan. Anyway,
Yes,
it's an
I
ultra
knew you were
secret.
gonna say that.
Yeah, it's an ultra secret quest to get the Merv, which shoots 8 of those motherfuckers at
Yeah.
a time. Yeah, it's great.
I remember
I've-
watching videos about how to get that in Fallout 3.
I would go into vats and shoot that just because it's stupid.
Yeah.
I have found 4 mini nukes. It is insane.
Well, you need to
That's not
find
enough.
4
That's
more if
not
you want to
enough.
fire
That's
the
not enough
Merv.
mini
But
nukes.
I'm going to tell you 2 things. 1, the Fat Man, and 4, overrated. Number 1, power armor is overrated.
Yeah, I didn't know how to get out of the power armor, and so I got to Sanctuary and it just powered down.
You should have used a can opener.
Because when you run out, it automatically ejects you, I think, right?
No,
it doesn't.
It just powers down, and then it shows.
Yeah.
Hold X to exits.
Oh, there you go. And it's just stuck there until
it's
you
just stuck in the
till you
hangar.
find another fusion core.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Stop laughing.
Keep laughing.
Keep laughing.
But yeah, no, I'm enjoying it.
Laugh.
I'm enjoying Fallout. Okay,
Okay.
that's
Good.
what I've been doing.
Good.
Didn't you have a movie?
Anything else?
Did you
Or
watch
did someone else have a
anything?
movie?
Did I have a movie?
Nah,
I didn't
I
have a
think so.
movie.
You
Ask
had
it.
you had a movie.
I have 3 movies.
Oh
Okay,
God!
all right.
Well, we better get to them. I'm sorry, man. He's got 3 whole
Yeah,
movies.
3 whole movies.
Well, I'm going to go next.
His host power is
You've been
exceeded.
skipped momentarily.
So,
I've been put on pause. Check yourself before you wreck yourself.
this past, I have a couple of weeks worth of stuff.
Yeah,
since I wasn't here
that's
last
fair,
week.
Brady.
Yeah. We'll turn this into a rest stop.
We don't need a main topic. Fuck it. Let's
Going
go.
from coming back.
this is just the catch-up episode.
Coming back on Wednesday, there was a wreck on I-10 and getting from the on ramp from I-12 to I-10 and then getting across the bridge into Mississippi took 2 hours.
my God.
Absolutely not.
For all of our Yankee friends, if we have any, that's normally a 15-minute
Yeah, I was
trip.
about to say that's about 15 minutes to get from Mandeville
Yeah.
to over into Mississippi.
Right.
2 hours.
Jeez.
It was a fucking nightmare. So, one of the things I did was I finished the Fallout series. Like I said, I haven't played through all the games. I know a decent amount from cultural osmosis.
Sure.
And from what little I've played, I thought the series was pretty good. I liked it. Walton Goggins is good. He's
I
Walton
like him as a
Gogginsing
character.
all over the place.
Yeah.
So that's great. The other main characters are really good.
I like that he gets to play a normal human being and Walton Goggins.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Like, it's great.
Yeah, the back and forth between past times and present times
Right.
was pretty interesting. They did a really good job with there's a lot of practical effects.
There
so
are.
that's cool.
Yeah, all the suits of armor from the
Yeah.
Brotherhood are all
Well,
made
the
out of.
lake monster thing that they fought was practical effects.
Right.
too.
I was hoping there would be a
really cool.
Mirelurk because I really love them from 3, but their design on that one was
Yeah.
cool.
Well,
We
too.
still got probably at least one more season.
Yeah, I know that they have at least renewed it for a second
It's done
season.
very well.
It was really cool, like I said.
And Shadow, because we didn't get her name last week, but Ella Purnell plays Lucy. She is
Yeah.
the voice, I think, of either V or Jinx in the Arcane series. The one.
Oh,
that's
okay.
up- So,
Yeah.
because she's
I was looking at
British.
stuff that she did,
It
and
fucked
there's
with my
other
head
things.
when I found out she was
Yeah.
British. And also for Aaron Clifton. God, I can't remember his name. I think it's Moten. He plays Maximus, who is the
Maximus,
Brotherhood of
yeah.
Steel guy. Oh, is it Maximus? Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah, Max.
My bad.
Ella Purnell plays Jinx.
Jinx. Okay, there you go.
Nice.
They were all good. All the little side characters were
all the
cool.
supporting actors are really. Kyle MacLachlan.
Yeah, he's great.
She's also in Yellow Jackets.
Oh yeah, she is. She's the friend of the girl.
I know who you're talking
Who
about.
Stuff happens.
She's the blonde girl, right?
She's the
Jackie.
popular kid.
Jackie.
The popular kid. Oh, she's the
Yeah.
popular. I know what you're saying now.
These are like Eureka
the
moments
friend who
upon
the other main
eureka moments.
character was cheating with her.
Right,
yeah.
right. Snow baths. All right.
Yeah.
So
Also, shout out to Kyle MacLachlan who plays the
Kyle
overseer.
MacLachlan
Kyle
was
MacLachlan's
That
great
was
in
really
that.
cool. Yeah, they did a really good job with it. I think
They really captured the essence of Fallout.
Yeah,
I think that was
I
a
can't
big-
speak to that because I haven't
Yeah.
played enough. Of
I
the
think-
games.
I haven't seen all of it, but
It felt really good.
The I offer, but I have to think of it this way. I offer myself up for marriage part
Yeah.
was creepy and weird,
Yeah.
Yeah.
and like off-putting, but also genuinely funny, and
Yeah.
it was,
Right.
it was so good.
I think one big deal that one of the reasons why they needed people from Bethesda is like the tone of the show
Yeah.
really matches a lot of the tone of the game.
Yeah, I think the
So-
tone was really cool.
Yeah.
This was the best version of Bethesda's Fallout. You might get some chatter from folks that preferred the original Fallout 1 and
Yeah,
2 in that
maybe.
universe. That because that does float around there, but I think they've done a
I
fantastic
think
job
I
with
think so too.
Yeah. So I watched that. That's really good. If that sounds interesting, check that out. I watched a movie. I watched the remake of Roadhouse that's on Amazon
That's
Prime.
That's
the,
Jake Gyllenhaal.
Jake
Jake
Gyllenhaal.
Gyllenhaal,
Yeah, Jake Gyllenhaal is Dalton.
Conor McGregor.
Yeah, Conor McGregor is in there. Conor McGregoring all over the place. So if that's something that you can't stand, then you're not gonna like this movie probably because he is
and
there.
if you love it, Oscar.
Yeah, if you love it, it's great. I am not the biggest fan of Conor McGregor anymore. I find him insufferable, and he's kind of insufferable in the movie.
What would you think of Conor McGregor's Oscar speech winning Best Supporting Actor for Roadhouse?
Christ.
I would love that.
It would kind of be funny, but I don't want the man to get any more praise than he's already gotten. So, but yeah, Dalton is the main character. Is played by Jake Gyllenhaal. It's really interesting. It's a dumb turn your brain off movie. There's not a lot to it. He's an ex-UFC fighter, which makes a little bit more sense as to why everybody knows who he is instead of in the original. He's just a really good bouncer, so everybody knows him. Makes no fucking sense. The setting is the Florida Keys, so they changed setting. I think they changed enough about the movie to make it interesting. Jake Gyllenhaal is really great in it. He plays Dalton really cool. He's one of those guys that's like, I know I can kick your ass, and I'm gonna try to be nice about it, and I don't really want to. Like the first fight that he gets in, like he gets the guys outside, and they're all like, they're bikers.
Is there a hospital?
Yeah, he's like,
nearby?
hey, before we start, guys, do you all have insurance? Okay, you got dental, everybody got dental, good. Hey, where's the nearest hospital? Oh, it's 25 minutes away. Okay, that's good. All right. And he beats their ass, and the one guy's like, I think he broke my arm. He's like, yeah, it's probably broken. I don't think I can ride my bike. And he's like, hey, does anybody have a car I can borrow? And he drives him to the fucking hospital. And he's even like he's driving and he goes, bump. And it's fucking hilarious. Like, he's just like, I'm going to kick your ass, but I'm not going to feel great about it. Like, so he's a really good character. Jake Gyllenhaal's great. And pretty much, I don't think that Jake Gyllenhaal's ever had a bad performance. But he's great. Like I said, it's a dumb
Bubble Boy.
He was good in Bubble Boy. Bubble Boy
movie
was just
was
a
bad.
horrid movie.
Gotcha.
I don't think you can have a good performance coming out of Bubble Boy.
he played the character well. It's just that the character and the writing and everything was terrible.
He reminds me of that the character that
You believed he was a Bubble Boy.
possibly. I don't think I did. I think he could have got out of the bubble anytime. Anyway, no. That's
Oh well,
just
he
me.
could. That's the thing. He just didn't think
He didn't
could.
think he could. Okay, no, but
That's the point of Bubble Boy.
Tropic Thunder, the fake movie that Ben Stiller is in.
Oh.
Simple
Jack.
Simple Jack.
You
That's
never
what
go
I,
full.
That's what I think of when I think of Jake Gyllenhaal
kind
Bubble
of,
Boy.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah.
Man, the early 2000s were crazy.
Yes. Yes.
But yeah, he's great in it. The supporting cast is really good. Roadhouse, it's good. It's dumb fun. Don't think too much about it. They do a really interesting thing though with the fighting. I was listening to another podcast talking about it where they film the fight scene like multiple times. Like they film it with the actors doing kind of like shadow boxing, and then they film it with stunt people, and they film it some other way, and they kind of composite it together so it looks like
More real.
Yeah, it's a little bit off-putting because like sometimes the punches feel a little bit fast, but it's very interesting because it can because it does a thing where like you can see the people's faces and it looks like they're beating the shit out of each other, which was interesting. I liked that. That was pretty cool. Yeah, it's a decent movie. Check it out if you don't want to like think too hard. If you watch the movie that Jody's going to talk about, watch this one afterwards, and it'll ease the.
You might have to
heartache.
watch more than this afterwards.
Some other things. This past Saturday we had the Lorcana Set Championships here. We had 23 players show up.
That's a good turnout.
Yeah.
This is like the first like official like tournament.
Yeah, the set champions. Yeah, they're doing a like an invitational type thing that's like regional. The closest one's like Atlanta, but those you have to like get an invite
invitation.
For. There's only it's limited seating. So yeah, this one I played in it. I got before cut to top 8. I got 10th. I went 1 and 2 the first 2 rounds, so that kind of set me back. I played Sapphire Ruby, which is a control style deck. Does really good against steel, and I only played technically 2 steel players. I say technically because the last guy that I played was just kind of a janky deck that. So Lorcana is a game that's really hard to win going second, and I beat the guy both 2-0 going second. So yeah, like it was one of the kids who played it was the short-haired kid with glasses who played QE last week.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. Yeah, but I kind of like I got some really bad hands. The first game that I played was against Ruby Amethyst, which is another control. I played them 2 fucking rounds in a row. Those were miserable matches because it's 2 control decks, so it takes for fucking ever to win.
Yeah, whoever sets up their board state first loses. Wait, what?
The first game of the first round, like I bricked. My hand was so fucking bad. It was so fucking bad. And I'd been playing Ruby Amethyst on Pixelborn like so much, but I just didn't, the first 2 rounds I just couldn't do it. So yeah, I didn't make top 8. Didn't stay around for top 8 because who wants to stay around for that shit?
Right.
So yeah, I missed out on all the promo shit, unfortunately. But yeah, I could have things could have went better. I was really like trying to figure out what fucking deck I'm gonna play, and I settled on Ruby Sapphire. But maybe I probably should have done Sapphire Steel. I don't know. But to be honest, like I'm kind of Lorcana'd out now. Like I don't necessarily even want to play. I'm not like super. Spoilers are coming out for the next set, and I'm not even like super excited about it. We'll probably play. I'll probably get excited closer to the new set dropping at the end of May. But
Well, also, I mean, tournaments are. I won't say they make you weary, but it's just like it's so intensive.
It's a lot. And you're playing, and especially when you're playing like a control deck. But even the other deck I would have played, Sapphire Steel. It's not a control deck, but you have to think a lot. Like it would. Neither of the decks I wanted to play would have been like easy. Just do this every single time deck, which is kind of what Ruby Amethyst is. Like exactly how.
Was Inklands legal for this one?
Inklands
okay, so the locations were also in play in this one. Okay.
I think that any kind of like set in stone like tournament, like card game tournament, is just a draining event.
Yeah,
it's very taxing mentally
is.
and physically, depending on how many hours you're playing.
Yeah.
I recall back to the BST tournament that we had, the Modern Unleashed tournament, and just many hours of sitting on my ass. I could not feel my ass every time I got up from the chair.
You basically got to
Cut that. Clip that. I could not feel my.
I could not feel my ass.
Hold on, wait a minute. Say that in a vacuum.
I could not feel my ass.
All right, there's the clip.
You sort of experience like a small version of like a GP or any of those bigger tournaments because you have to play like day one back in the day anyway. You'd have to play 12 hours straight, and sometimes you would get unlucky. Like, for example, what happened to me at GP Houston back in the day when my match ended, I won. It was like round 2 or 3. I had to go to the bathroom. We were in a huge auditorium. So I made a break for the bathroom. I got back. I sat down. My opponent had sat down literally 1 minute before me, called for a judge. 0 to 10 rule. You weren't sitting down when your opponent sat down. You lose the first game. We went to game 2, no sideboard.
Jesus.
Yeah.
Jesus.
12 hours of that. But anyway,
Damn.
yes, tournament play can be rough on you.
Yeah, this was 5 rounds.
I've always played aggressive decks at tournaments for that reason. Jax, I will say this: Jax would train you for that.
Yeah.
Like if you had a
yeah.
tournament there, if you finished your round and there was like 5 minutes left, you could shit.
Yeah.
If it was less than 2 minutes, you could piss. And if you finished and they would flip it right to the next round.
Well,
You
the
go sit
problem
down.
with big tournaments, I don't want to get on a side thing here, but the problem with big tournaments like that is that there is no, like, there's a timer for the rounds, but if that round is up, no matter what the time is, there is no time left on it.
Yeah.
Like, if it could be like 30 minutes before the round's over and the last match is done, they go right into round 2 and you're fucked if you decide to go get food or anything like that. There is no leeway for time in those tournaments.
I think the other thing, from my case at least, it was the literal pay to win. You pay $1, draw a card.
Yeah, well,
aspects.
that was a special tournament.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But again,
it's-
even then, it's rounds of like high-powered magic decks.
Yeah, like hey, I play this spell. Let me draw a card. Let me draw a card. Doesn't help me. Let me draw 10 cards real fast.
Yeah.
And it's just
Cost you $13, but
Yeah.
you win the match because you're able to just shut them down.
Yeah, so that was my experience at the Lorcana Set Championships. So yeah, there's that. Just a couple more things. I finished the book that I was reading, Between Two Fires. For those who don't remember when I mentioned it, starting reading it is a medieval horror. Takes place during the plague times in France. The main character is a former knight who has become a brigand who happens upon this girl and they go on kind of a mission quest thing. There's a question of she seems like she might be touched by God or something like that, and there's realistic things, and then there's also like very unrealistic. This is kind of like, horror fantasy type stuff happens where they encounter weird things and horrific things happen. It was a very good, very interesting, because you don't, especially like horror and stuff like that, you don't get stuff around this kind of time. And really, I don't think you get too much fiction around this kind of time. So it was very interesting. So yeah, if something like medieval horror is kind of up your alley, check that out, because it's a brutal, book.
Grim dark.
It's pretty grim dark because again it's set in France during the plague.
Right.
So yeah, but it's a really, really good book.
If you like French books about the plague, read The Plague by Albert Camus.
I've read The Plague.
Which is an American. I'm saying American. Excuse me. Which is a world literature like standout novella. I would say very fantastic.
And The Stranger as well.
Stranger as well. I prefer The Plague,
Well,
but
yeah.
that is just me.
Yeah.
So yeah, there's that, and then the last thing is Monday was the probably series finale of Shogun, which is one of the best shows that I've watched probably in the last 10 years. The culmination of like everything, there was not a bad episode through this entire 10 episode run. It's so fucking good. Like, this is like, I keep telling people this and nobody fucking watches it, and it's very frustrating because this is like legitimately a great fucking show. I really don't see anything like doing better than being better than this show. When we do our little end of the year awards, I can't see anything doing better than this.
you see this being show of the year.
Probably. Like it does all the intrigue of Game of Thrones. You get that. It does the thing of like, okay, here's a white person coming to this foreign land, but it doesn't Last Samurai it. Like he's a main character, but he's not the main character, and everything doesn't revolve around him, and he's not like this perfect little linchpin that that they, you know, it's not a white savior thing, but it lets him be in this show without and be a part of the show and do interesting things without it just, oh, he's coming here to save these people. Like, no, they didn't necessarily need him. Like, but it's cool that he's there.
Right.
They do a good job balancing that. Shout out to Anna Saiwa, I think is how you say her name.
It's either Saiwa or Sawai, and
I've never heard it actually said.
That's a dangerous enough knife that I don't want to try to mess that
she
one
plays
up too bad.
Mariko. She knocked it, especially like the 9th episode. God, she knocked it out of the fucking park. Because she's like the main point of translation between the Blackthorn, the English guy, and everybody else. Just the interesting things that they do with like her translating and how she translates things and how she tells him things, and because you see the subtitles, so you see what they're really saying,
right?
And seeing it's always interesting to see like how she interprets it between two people. There's a really cool thing where him and her husband are like talking across to each other, and how she's choosing to translate things back and forth is very interesting. But like, yeah, she's like MVP of it. Like she knocks it out of the park. I came for Sonata, but like she is like the number one person in this show. Like she killed it. She is very good. And it's just like the subtlety because you know, she's always like having to like be composed and everything, but just the little subtleties that you see in her face is so interesting. You know, how you can look into her eyes and see what she is fucking feeling, but she can't really like show it or anything like that. It's very, very interesting.
Hiroyuki Sanada was in the original Ring.
Oh, okay.
Oh yeah.
Yeah. That one blew my mind because I knew he'd been in The Last Samurai. I knew he was Scorpion from Mortal Kombat, but just seeing all the other stuff he's been in, he's had a more influential career in my opinion. Than he was also in Bullet Train, which I know you've spoken. You don't want to watch it, but I really liked Bullet Train.
If I ever catch it like free somewhere, I'll watch it.
The entire ensemble in that I think does a fantastic job in that movie. But Hiroyuki Sanada is just. Like it's not that he's a good Japanese actor. He's a good actor.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah. He's great. Like he's really good. The intrigue in it is so interesting because like you're not super familiar with like how things are done in Japan, especially in that time, and seeing like how the little cat and mouse games that they have to constantly play, and especially the ones that the character Mariko has to play is very interesting. Like it's just such a good show.
When we get to our main topic tonight, there's a point I want to make, kind of tangentially, but so now with the series out, now I can finally break down and fucking watch the whole thing. So yeah,
and I don't think that there's going to be I don't think that there's going to be more of it.
It shouldn't be.
Because from what I've read, they left it where the novel kind of leaves it,
right?
Which is kind of like you know the outcome, but you don't like actually see the outcome. But it's very, very interesting, and everybody was like nailing it. Everybody from just the smallest role, you know, to just everybody. Like it was such a fucking good. Like they really. Everybody put their heart and soul in this. The writers, the directors, the actors, like everybody super cared about.
And the production is high quality too, right?
Is so good. So good. The set design is so fucking good. The costumes are magnificent. Everybody is just dressed so cool. Like it's just really fucking good. Like there's not I can't find like I haven't found a flaw in this show. Like everything is just knocking it out of the park.
Right.
Yeah. So that's what I've been doing. 2 weeks worth of stuff.
That's a good 2 weeks.
Yeah. Jody, what you been doing? Bring us down.
So yeah,
Don't bring me down.
Make everyone depressed.
I'm gonna
Yeah.
bring you down, and then hopefully maybe bring you back up a little bit afterwards. So Monday, I was trying to find what I wanted to watch, and I was on Max, and they have a lot of A24 movies on Max.
They have most
they
of
do.
them.
And Bodies is on Netflix. But anyway, so I was like, it's 2:00 in the afternoon.
Mm-hmm.
So it's so it's a bright sunny day, and I'm in an okay mood, but I'm not in like the happiest of moods.
Mm-hmm.
So I'm like, I was thinking about, when Brady talked about this movie, and I was like, if I'm going to watch it, this is the time, because it gives me the rest of the day and the rest of the evening to fill my life with something joyous. To decompress. So I watched Zone of Interest Monday, which is, I think you described it on the show before, but it's a movie set in World War II. It's the family of the commandant that does he oversee?
He's the
head overseer.
He's the head guy. At
the
Auschwitz.
head guy at Auschwitz.
Yeah.
And so we were talking off mic, and Brady said, I didn't even realize it was a PG movie.
Yeah.
It's a PG movie.
You don't see anything.
There's no violence.
yeah.
There's no cursing.
And I would argue that's why it is more affecting, because you
Right.
don't see it, so your brain's making it up in
It
your
is
head.
everything is in your brain, and your brain is working overdrive.
That no.
It's a very
I'm
it's a very subtle, slow. Like the movie is slow anyway.
The movie is very
which
slow.
it needs to be. But there is the tone slowly builds more and more and more throughout. And you have basically the day-to-day of the rest of his family mostly just going through their business. And, then little things come up like, here are some dresses we have. Which one would you like? Things like I can't really talk about it much. Without
The wife gets a fur coat.
The wife gets a fur coat.
Where did she get that fur coat?
Yeah.
Oh shit.
The daughter sneaks out at night and leaves apples for anyway.
That wasn't his daughter.
Oh,
that
it
was
wasn't.
another.
That was another.
That was a
was that
villager.
okay.
Yeah.
Okay. I don't know where I lost that in translation.
It's hard to say because that is the part where it's jarring, because that's the part where they do like the thermal camera. So it's hard to tell like who it is. And they do kind of, because the daughter sleepwalks.
right.
So it's hard to
Tell
to
exactly.
tell exactly like who-
Also, it's in German, so it's subtitles as well.
Yeah.
What's up, Ethan?
it is PG-13.
PG-13.
Okay.
All right.
I didn't want angry emails.
The implied the subject matter is pretty heavy anyway, and they don't portray anything in a glorious fashion.
Yeah.
It's very drab. It's very dull. You are definitely not meant to like anybody really.
Yeah.
Which is good, because that should be one of the messages of the film, and it's a different viewpoint from anything that you've seen so far. Schindler's List, of course, very impactful movie. Different film though, different kind of thing.
Yeah.
And typically, we don't get this side of any stories. Yeah, I don't. The thing about this movie is that I have to go back to what Brady said when he was talking about it before. It doesn't make you feel good.
No.
It's a very depressing. It's not supposed to. It's a very depressing movie, but I think it's a very needed piece of art.
Yeah.
And it really like opens your eyes to a lot of things. Like, because what I was about to say is like typically when we're dealing with any sort of World War II anything, it's usually an action movie.
Yeah.
It's usually like, and those movies are good. Like it's Saving Private Ryan's a good movie and everything, but you don't like it detaches you from the atrocities that happened during World War II. Like watching this movie at certain parts of it made me feel like when we were doing when we were reading Mouse for the show, just guttural, just punches you right in the chest.
Disgust.
It just if you remember how that made you feel reading Mouse, there's a lot of that going on. I like Brady at one point near the end of the movie. I cried. It was that fucking dark and bleak.
I think what Brady, the way Brady described it was they did everything in their power to not make the Nazis in like a powerful force.
Yeah, they seemed like
because you look at any other.
Let me try to. I want to try to maybe pull it. Like Brady said, you see them portrayed as monsters,
Right.
and effectively and eventually with that kind of dialogue, it turns them into mythical and it turns them into not real. This makes them real again.
Right.
This makes the atrocity full front because this was human beings like the four sitting at this table, like our two friends sitting at that couch, like any human being could have fallen down that path.
Yeah.
Because of extemporaneous forces, things inside ourselves that might be, those are real tangible things, and they're not like stories like as much as we love Indiana Jones, that makes the Nazis are bad guys. The Nazis are kind of not so much monsters as they are. This is kind of a draping we're putting over an enemy. This was a real thing that real people did, and it just keeps telling you that over and over.
Yeah. Well, even like the like well-known movies about the Holocaust, like Schindler's List, they do a lot to like kind of Hollywoodize it. Like it's hard to like a pretty well-known saying is like you can't make a war movie that's anti-war. Like,
Right.
it all is going to glamorize it in some way. And even a movie made in Hollywood about the Holocaust is going to glamorize it in some way. And this is as far as you can go, I think, to not glamorize anybody. Like,
right.
That's where I was trying to remember. Glamorize.
nobody looks cool.
No.
Everybody just looks like a sad piece of shit.
Right.
Like it's just, everybody is petty and banal, and nobody can watch this movie and be like, oh, like even like if a fucking neo-Nazi watches this movie, they're not gonna come away going, oh, that dude was cool.
Yeah, no.
Which sometimes is what you get when you do
Right.
a World War II movie is
They're not betrayed in that way.
neo-Nazis really like it because it makes the Nazis look cool.
Right.
Because it's glamorizing, and that's just something that
This movie does not do.
this movie does not do, and a lot of times
refuse to do.
and a lot of times they're not even trying to do it. It's just the nature of making a movie does these things.
Yeah.
Right.
I think in a lot of ways something like Jojo Rabbit is very similar to that, where all the Nazis look like bumbling idiots.
right. Right.
It still kind of glamorizes some things and stuff like that, but but it does.
That movie's still on my watch list. I need to watch it.
Jojo Rabbit is very, very good. Yeah.
So zone of interest. So I immediately watched another movie after that.
Of course, that's what you have to do.
I wasn't, for whatever reason, because of the mood I was in, the mood that movie put me in. I didn't want to watch a comedy immediately. So I'd never seen. There's classic movies that have been on my watch list that I've missed just through availability and different things in different time periods. Like like certain classics. Let's just say I've never seen The Maltese Falcon, and that's what I watched.
Yeah. Oh, okay.
So I watched The Maltese Falcon, which was so strange for me to watch because Peter Lorre is in that movie.
Yeah.
Like he is in classic Casablanca, and he plays almost the same character.
Yeah.
He just plays Peter Lorre.
Well, when you look like Peter Lorre, you're probably
Right.
just going to play that character.
But Humphrey Bogart, his character was a little bit different than Rick because he smiled an awful lot, and it was really creepy and unsettling. For some reason, he plays a private eye. This femme fatale shows up at his office. She needs him to find her husband, and he sends his private eye partner to go find out what's going on, and then immediately he gets shot. Like, I didn't see that coming. He just gets shot immediately, like 10 minutes into the movie, boom. And then so the cops are like pretty much like on Bogart's ass the whole movie, like we know you know what's going on or whatever, and it's called the Maltese Falcon because that's the MacGuffin. It's apparently like this, sorry, this ornately jeweled marble falcon that they found in Malta or was made in Malta or something for some king back in the 12th century or whatever it was. Really good little
it's classic noir
film noir movie. I really enjoyed it. And after I finished that, I was still depressed.
Yeah.
Because
noir isn't necessarily going to bring you back up.
Well,
so.
I didn't want to go from a sharp low to a sharp high.
I get that too. I get that.
And so I watched The Music Man from 1954.
That's one of my favorite theater posters of all time for The Music Man.
It's a great one.
Are you dying?
I am.
Oh no.
But
we all are technically.
The Music Man is one of the few Hollywood musicals from that time that I actually enjoy.
Okay.
Most of the musicals I like are a little bit more modern. Like, not necessarily Chicago. I like Cabaret. Cabaret's fine. And but most of the 50s and 60s, I hate Oklahoma. Like, that's terrible. I can't.
Oh, Oklahoma, where the wind. No.
I can't stand Guys and Dolls.
Oklahoma is a plot point in the movie I'm thinking of Ending Things.
I think it's also a plot point in Euphoria because they're doing a play of Oklahoma and Sydney Sweeney dresses up like in like some weird country girl outfit and doesn't know that they're doing Oklahoma, and then they keep asking her, "Oh, you dressed up to be in Oklahoma? What are you talking about?" And it's one of the few like moments of levity in that, like, not on the level of Zone of Interest, but that's another one where it's like, oh my God, Zendaya is like glamorizing drug use. No, she's not.
Yeah, no, she's not.
No, she's not.
No.
There's a good chance there's not going to be a third season of that.
I'm both saddened by that, but I'm also okay with that.
Yeah.
The great thing about The Music Man is like it's like unlike some of the other musicals that came out during the time period, like Hello Dolly and those things. The Music Man actually has a plot to it, which is I can't remember the actor's name, but he was in Last Starfighter. That was one of the last things he did. But the main character actor,
Jeff Bridges?
No,
Robert Preston.
Robert Preston.
Okay.
The Irishman.
Yeah, I think so.
He's the one in the makeup t-shirt.
yeah.
He's the head of Silver Shamrock in Halloween 3, and he's the head of OCP in RoboCop.
Oh, okay.
It's not the same guy.
I would almost swear it's the same
not
person.
the same guy. It's not the same guy from Halloween 3. Anyway,
I'm not seeing any. Halloween 3.
So anyway, back to the plot real quick. Music Man. So the main guy, Buddy Hackett's also in this as well.
Oh, okay.
His whole deal is that he's a con man, but he's also a seller of musical instruments. That's what he does. He's a salesman, and basically he creates a reason for a town to want to have a band, for a boys band with instruments and with uniforms. So he has to basically invent a reason, and he does that, and hilarity ensues. It's really enjoyable, very wholesome. Also, I can't remember the name of the actor / director. Ron Howard is in this movie before Andy Griffith as well, plays a little bit of a role. And I can't remember the name of the actress either, but she's also a big. Who's the name of the actress?
Shirley Jones.
Shirley Jones is also in this.
I think they recently did a Broadway revival in the last few years with
Hugh Jackman. Yeah, and they did a terrible made-for-TV version of it with Matthew Broderick. As it was awful.
Was that when they were doing all the live musicals?
It's not a live one,
okay,
but it's just as bad.
I think I vaguely remember that one.
Okay, because we need to. So Robert Preston, plays the detective-looking guy who brings him up to in the Last Starfighter. Dan O'Harely plays the guy in makeup. That's where the wires got crossed here.
Oh,
He's
okay.
the guy in makeup. That's his co-pilot in the
okay.
last. That gentleman was the one who's the guy, president of
Yeah,
OCP
yeah.
and the president and the president of Silver
Yeah,
Shamrock
Robert
and all that
Preston
crap.
plays the alien in Last Starfighter that pulls the mask off at the end of the movie.
I thought he pulled his mask off when the Last Frontier got blown up.
I don't remember when it happened. But anyway, that's Robert Preston.
Yeah.
Anyway.
But he's the one that comes to the planet to recruit. Preston's the one that comes to the planet to recruit him, right?
Yes.
Okay.
Correct. That's the music man.
Dan O'Harely
This
is
is the
is
most
the other actor.
anybody has talked about The Last Starfighter.
And Robert
You know what
Preston.
that means, right? We got to review The Last Starfighter.
I don't think that's what it means.
Yeah, it does.
Would
mean,
you
put it
rather
on the
watch
list.
Victor Victoria? Because Robert Preston's in that too.
I don't even know what that is.
I know what it is, and I'd vote Last Starfighter.
I would too.
But we have other pressing things in May. Which
Are
we'll
we
talk
talking?
about
Are we
later.
talking about the fact that Tony Khan went behind his word about being an on-air
So
personality?
welcome to passenger feedback, because that's what we're throwing this on here. So,
Is this Whiskey and Wrestling
yeah,
Wolfpack?
we got whiskey. This is Whiskey and Wrestling and Wolfpack and everything else along
Yeah.
with it. So,
Okay.
we got while we were recording tonight. We record on Wednesday nights. We got a text from our friend Jason Holder from the Whiskey and Wrestling podcast, and I will just read it in its full. So the Elite attacked Tony Khan.
Yes.
Oh. Okay.
Yeah.
Tony Khan said he would never be a TV personality for the show, ever.
Yeah, he said a lot of things.
He
I don't
did.
know, like I
He
don't.
said that he was gonna give his employees health insurance, and
Yeah.
none of the wrestlers have them.
Shad Khan also came out.
What?
Yeah. There's a picture right at the end, right as the Dynamite was ending. He came out to check on Tony Khan.
So did it happen in Jacksonville? Because that's the only reason why. Okay.
This is Jackson.
Great. Wonderful. I'm
That
glad
wa-
I don't
th-
give a shit about AEW
That's
anymore.
the worst take your dad to work day ever.
Yeah, I don't. Care.
Imagine,
It's fine.
imagine if you were at work and like it's take your dad to work. Say, Dad, no, here's what I do with work. It's great. And then all of a sudden, two dudes that work for you come in and start beating the shit out of you. What the fuck? That'll drive them ratings.
Santana signed with TNA, and then
Good for him.
A broken Matt Hardy showed up on
TNA.
TNA. during the
He-
pay-per-view.
He's still a free agent. He hasn't signed.
Right.
Yeah,
yet,
he's
but he
doing
did
like
show up.
freelance work for them, which
Right.
I think that's kind of cool.
That's
Leave your
probably a good
options open,
idea.
and like I think with like a month or two, you can tell a really good broken Matt story, and then you can like go on or stay there.
He
It
might
gives you
just be
options.
waiting for Jeff's contract to go up
That
so,
is entirely true. Yeah,
Yeah.
so they can go back home.
yeah.
Yeah.
To North Carolina.
Yeah,
I
that's
don't
it.
know. I don't. It's fine. It's whatever they can
Fuck
do.
AEW.
They can do whatever they want. It's
They
fine.
had one of the best wrestling matches in the last 10 years, legitimately, between Danielson and Will Ospreay.
Yeah.
The ending, I think, sucks shit.
I did not. I saw a clip of the ending.
It
hate
did
so
not need
much.
that. And in fact, it's that's when you're over egging the pudding. Like they went too fucking far, in my
Yeah.
opinion. Yeah, I get it's a work.
Yeah.
but like that instance there, along with the instance in Gunther and Sammy's match at WrestleMania, and again, this is a personal thing.
Yeah.
I hate neck injury shit because when it's real, it's career ending. Look
Yeah.
at Big E.
Well,
To me,
the difference between those two, just really quick, for me is that one was a move where it looked worse than it actually was. When
That's
you see
the
it from
Gunther
another,
Sammy?
yeah,
That's
when
the
you
Gunther
when
one.
you do it from another angle, it doesn't look near as you see that like it wasn't really
yeah.
it wasn't really dangerous.
Right.
It just looked dangerous, and that I'm okay with. I'm okay with shit looking dangerous in wrestling, but when you do the other one is a spot where like his fucking leg is shaking, like he has serious nerve damage,
Right.
And that I don't like.
I don't
'cause
like it,
that's-
especially like double down on what you just said and what Jay said. It's like I don't like. First off, I don't like injury angles anyway. I really don't like them when persons involved have had severe issues with concussions in the past.
Yeah, it's like any goodwill when Saraya came back,
Right.
was instantly gone when her first thing that she does is pretend that her neck is hurt. I'm like, okay, well that like I didn't like you before anyway, but now I really don't like this because
Right.
like I don't want come on, like calm your shit, like
Yeah.
Jesus. I'm sorry, I keep interrupting you.
No,
Ethan.
because this is. I mean, this for all intent, we interrupted Jody's time on here because when we saw that little bit of information about this, it fucking made us roll our fucking eyes. And that
I don't know.
like,
I saw it and I just didn't care because I just don't care.
For me, it's just like, how many more Luckies are we going to go fishing for in AEW? How much more stuff are we just going to pull out of the trash can to try to get some sort of reaction out of somebody? They have their tagline's right. The best wrestlers wrestle here. I agree with that. You look at that lineup, and that is some of the best technical wrestling ever. Yeah. Not now, not in the last 10 years, ever. Some of the best technical wrestlers in the world, including Bryan Danielson, who doesn't need to go to that to produce an ending to a match that is easily still match of the year contender.
Yeah.
Right.
Well, and that's another thing is like, I'm just kind of tired of, okay, we're not really going to have any build to this match. We're not going to really make you care about who wins. It's just we know that these are really two good wrestlers who can have a really good match.
Yeah, wouldn't it be cool if
things.
right?
Yeah.
I'm really tired of that. I really don't care about the Ospreay Danielson match because there was nothing except, okay, they're just gonna do really cool stuff.
There was no build up.
There's
no story.
No story.
All it was these two are just I have this action figure in my hand and I have this action figure in my hand and we're gonna smash them together.
Yeah.
And I don't care about that. You have to do more than that to make me. And it's what happens oftentimes with AEW's pay-per-views is that you will look at the card and be like, okay, I don't care about there was no build-up for any of these fucking matches. But then you watch it and it's like, oh, that was a really good pay-per-view because the matches were good. I can only do that so much.
So many times.
Like, you got to give me something more than that. And they have good characters in that, something like Tony Storm or things like that, but they don't give me a reason to care about anything that happens beforehand. And there's no, like, I don't know. It's just frustrating, and I don't care. I keep saying I don't care, but then I say all that. But I've tried to not care. Like, I don't want to think about this anymore. I kind of don't give a shit about wrestling, period, anymore, but it's very frustrating.
Shout out. That being said, shout out to Swerve Strickland for winning the title.
Yes, there was a really good shot of. So he's the first African American title holder, main title holder, AEW championship holder. Nana is the first manager first African American manager to be managing somebody who wins the title.
That's cool.
And then the ref, I cannot remember his name. But he's African American, and he was this was his first time. This was his first time refereeing a main event on a pay-per-view.
Okay.
And there's a really cool shot where Swerve is on his knees and he's kind of like taking it in, and the guy kneels down to hand him the title, and you see Nana in the background, and like it's a really really cool shot like that. I saw a picture of that. Or I saw the video, and when that happened, I was like, "Oh, that's really cool."
Yeah.
The most recent NXT pay-per-view, Trick Williams defeats Dragunov.
Yeah.
In a very solid match. I got the chance to watch that one, so that was good too.
I saw the ending of the match. I'm sad that Dragunov lost, but he's going to be moving to the.
He's going to be called up.
So it's not that big.
I can't wait for Dragunov.
Raw as Dragunov. I want Raw as Dragunov.
Yeah, but
you restart that Gunther feud.
Not right away.
Not right away,
No.
But it lays the groundwork for
plant the seed. Have them walk past one another.
Yeah.
That's all you need.
I do think with AEW, I think they did a pretty good job of building up Swerve for the main title, the story that they did, and they've had some really cool spots. There's a really cool spot where like Swerve like jumps and like stomps on all these people and lands standing up.
That was the Dynamite before Dynasty.
Yeah,
and he Goomba stomped 8 people because they all went flat and he's just on his feet.
Yeah,
just amazing.
He did like it was like a superhero landing, but it was really fucking cool. And they've done a really good job. Like he was out, all over the place, hyping things up. The man I think he deserves it.
He earned his flowers.
Yeah, he earned it. He's one of the very few that it's like, it's very clear that like WWE was like wasting him.
Well, he wasn't even the top thing in Hit Row.
Yeah. So like that's one of the few people who's like come over and has actually like made an impact and they've actually been able to do a good job with. So I will give him that. I'm not trying to be a complete hater. It's just very frustrating because you see people that you like and you want to do good and you want to do good things, and you look over at WWE and the people that I like and want them to do good things, they're actually doing good things with most of them. But then you look over at AEW and I don't know what the fuck they're doing, and it's very frustrating because I want the people that I like to have good stories and to have good matches and to do good things, and it seems like they're keeping them from doing that, and it's very frustrating.
That is passenger feedback for the week. But passengers,
there is some feedback.
Oh, more feedback.
There's some feedback from me.
Oh, okay, there we go. Traveler feedback on passenger feedback.
Because I listened to your episode, and I think that y'all missed some things.
Oh, here we go.
So
As I knew we would have.
Yeah, when y'all mentioned Persona, a lot of the, especially starting Persona for the characters, have to do with some mythology. Like in Persona 3, there's Orpheus. It's Iza. In Persona 4, your starting persona is Izanagi or Izanami. I never can remember.
Izanagi.
Yeah, that's based on all of the starting persona for all of the main characters are based on Japanese mythology. I think most of them have to do with Greek mythology in the third one. I'm not as familiar with all the stuff for the fifth one, so I don't know exactly what the theme is with that. But often a lot of the persona have to do, like someone's ultimate persona in like Persona 1 or 2 is like Amun Ra. So like mythology is very much tied with that. Usually there's some kind of the persona or some kind of god or there's some kind of demon. That's how that works. Y'all talked about Final Fantasy and y'all missed like the number one mythology thing from Final Fantasy, and that is the summon of Odin. The summon of Odin is in a lot of the Final Fantasies.
All of the summon, like Odin, Ramu, Ifrit, Shiva, like it crosses multiple mythologies. No,
Odin's the big obvious one.
Definitely mea culpa on that one, but those are across the board almost completely mythological creatures, or at the very least standouts in their own mythology.
A lot of them they take like the name or something and maybe an attribute. Like Shiva doesn't have anything to do with the mythological Shiva. But Odin is the one where like they just took an idea of Odin and they just planted him into as a summon. He comes out. The only difference is like he has a sword when he usually has a spear in mythology. That's the only difference. And then Assassin's Creed, some of the things that y'all missed is in Assassin's Creed 2, they introduce the first civilization, which the first one of those you meet is Minerva. And then you meet Juno, and then it's heavily implied throughout the series that the first civilization, there's this advanced civilization that created humans and created the pieces of Eden.
And the apple.
Which includes the apple. They were the ideas for the gods. That's why they're called, one of them's called Minerva. She was the...
And Juno's another one, yeah.
And that's the ideas. They were like... That's where the ideas of all these gods came from, was these people.
We were definitely focusing more on when the science fiction retelling doesn't work, C2 human. But that's good. In fact, I went back and looked at Valhalla. Valhalla actually has Loki and Odin, and like specifically the gods actually play a portion in that.
Origins, Odyssey, and Valhalla all have DLC that have the gods have what it like. In Origins it's the Egyptian gods, in Odyssey it's the Greek gods. You even like go to fucking Atlantis, but Poseidon, like you're dealing with them. And then Valhalla, they have the Norse gods in them. They all have DLC that takes it away from that realistic quote unquote setting and into a more mythological thing. So so those are the parts that I think y'all missed. I was wondering, I was like, did they say God of War for last? They better at least talk about fucking God of War. Jesus Christ.
Yeah. That was like going into it. It was like, okay, so God of War is the finished
something
piece
you
on
did
this one.
miss. He does kill Hera in the third one. He kills her. He breaks her neck, and then like flies shoot out, and like pestilence comes into the world.
I know you.
See, I even remember that. I guess I misspoke there.
Yeah.
Or I meant to go back and touch on that because yeah, that's one of the more like the most brutal kill is Hermes, Chariot of the Sun.
Helios.
Helios is the most brutal one because you rip his head off and his head still like is a fucking lantern, which that thing I think is like one of the significantly best horror moments in the series.
I know when we discussed the topic, you mentioned Asura's Wrath.
Oh yeah.
Which, would you mind just briefly explaining?
Yeah, that one's based on, I believe, Hindu mythology.
Because everything I've seen of it looks cool as shit.
Yeah, it's just a giant over the top revenge thing. Like he gets angry and he gets more arms basically as he gets angry. I can't remember like how close it is like with when it comes to like mythology and stuff like that. I think you fight like the Buddha at the end, although you had to pay for that DLC to actually get the ending, which is why like most people don't talk much about that game because they pulled that bullshit. I think later they made it free, but when it came out to get the actual ending, you had to pay extra for it. Yeah. Otherwise, it was just kind of a very sudden end. But yeah, I think you fight the Buddha, who's like who's like larger than the world. At the end of that, like
that's when he's like pointing the you
do
to
like
hit you with a finger.
Yeah, you do the scale gets like super fucking crazy in that game, but it's
approaching Gurren Lagann scale.
Yeah,
right there.
pretty much like it. Yeah, it does
universes at each
Yeah,
other.
it does like over the top shit like
Throw
that.
a big bang at someone.
Yeah, but yeah, that's one that's kind of the lesser thought of mythology that you usually don't get much of. But yeah, so that's all I really had to add with that. So that's my feedback.
Cool bean. Thank you for that traveler passenger feedback.
Yeah.
Again, so passengers, thank you for joining us on the bus. If you would like to leave feedback on anything we've talked about either tonight or in previous episodes, travelers on the omnibus at gmail.com. Again, that is travelers, 1L on the omnibus at gmail.com. Jody, where else can they get in touch with us?
You can directly message us through our Spotify, where you can take part in any polls we may or may not have currently.
Every episode has a poll and a question for which you may answer at your own discretion. Also, ladies and gentlemen, if you enjoyed the podcast and would like to share it with others, but they don't listen to podcasts on the same channels you do, we're available on Spotify, Apple, YouTube Music, and Amazon. Boss, we ready for the main topic?
Yeah, let's get it started.
All right, let's go.
So last week we talked about mythology in video games. So we're going to kind of continue with the theme of mythology, and we're going to talk about mythology used in board games. This can range from, the theme is very strong, it fits with everything, or the theme is barely there, and we'll mention, all the ones in between. And I think where we're going to start is is a trilogy of games by the publisher Matagot, include that goes through three different types of mythology, three different categories of mythology: Greek, Egyptian, and Celtic. And those are Cyclades or Cyclades or Cyclades.
Or Kyclades. I've heard four different pronunciations of this thing.
Then there is Kemet, which recently got a re-release as... and Cyclades actually has a Cyclades 2 coming out, which is basically just an updated version of the first game. And then Kemet got Kemet Blood and Sand, which is an updated version, kind of a 2.0. And then there's the last one is Inish. And these are called a trilogy basically because they were put out by the same people. Different people created the games. The developers are different, but they all have a mythological background, and then they're all area control type games. So we got Cyclades, which is area control. You are one of the great city-states of Greece, and you are... but it also tacks on a very interesting auction mechanism where you have the gods and you are basically bidding for their favor, and you only get to do certain actions depending on which god you win the favor of. And, you You say, okay, I'm gonna bid 3 on Zeus, and if somebody outbids you, you have to go to and put your marker somewhere else. So you can't bid on the same place that you've already gone from. And they all have, like I said, there's different actions. So if you want to build ships and you want to move your ships, you got to win Poseidon. If you want to build your little armies up and move them, you have to win Ares. Athena gives you philosophers, which if you have 4 of those, you can build a metropolis, which is you're trying to build 2 metropolises or control two metropolises, and then you win. And you do that by building certain buildings. And once you built 4 of those, those smash together to become a metropolis. Or if you have 4 philosophers, they become that instantly becomes a metropolis. So, and then Zeus also gives you priests that make it cheaper to bidding, I believe. It's been a little while since I played it, but it's a very interesting game with the adding the area control with the auction mechanism.
I love. Okay, so if we're going to talk about theme, I think the theme of like oblations and prayers to the gods, and then wait, someone's praying harder to the God. Hey, other God, can I set some? I like the notion of that because it seems almost petty, and it kind of like it kind of gets behind the theme of it. Like it's the theme behind the theme of, if I can't get the gifts I want from one God, I'm going to shop around for a God that would listen to me. I love the notion of that.
Yeah, and then eventually, like if you don't have anybody that you can if you've been outbid on everything, then you have to go seek Apollo's favor, who really doesn't let you do much of anything. You just get a little bit of gold and that's it. But yeah, like the theme I think with it is strong. They choose, who, the abilities of the gods are pretty interesting. One of the expansions adds in Hades, which lets you get undead warriors, which are kind of like temporary guys. They go away at the end of the round, but you get to use them. Then the next one adds in Kronos, which brings in Titans, which lets you move people without having to win Ares, which can oftentimes be like oh man, there's nothing I can do because I can't get Ares. I can't win the game. It can be very kind of frustrating, so it kind of balances that. You can also get monsters, which lets you do things. Some of them actually come down on the board and do things. Like the Kraken comes in and he just moves around and destroys ships and blocks off areas. You got the Cyclops that you put somewhere and he pushes other people's ships away. So it all kind of like everything kind of fits with that, if you get the Harpies, it's like a one-time thing where you instantly like take something from a person. So even with that, like the things make sense. I think that there's also one where you can get like artifacts that you can win and put them on your little area, and they give you a certain thing, like the shield of Perseus, things like that. The winged boots of Hermes, and they let you do special things. So yeah, I think they do a lot of with the theme of this, and to tie it with that theme of giving favor to the gods. Then we got Kemet, which is one of my favorite games of all time. This one you're actually playing as the gods, controlling these temples and areas. The theme in this one isn't quite as strong, but it is interesting because you're like building up pyramids to get more power. The more powerful your pyramid is, the better things that you can buy. You can get cool things like a giant scorpion that you got dudes that ride on.
Everybody wants the giant scorpion.
Yeah, or a war elephant.
A giant mummy. There's that giant mummy.
There's multiple versions of a sphinx that you can get. And
from a production standpoint, I really love how they handled the pyramids, which were just giant D4s.
Yeah,
it's fucking great.
In Blood and Sand, they're actually plastic pyramids that you put your little color on top of, and you build the top and you build the levels. So they changed a little bit with that. The The expansion for Kemet is pretty interesting because you are there's like this pathway to the city of the dead. I can't remember what it's called, but and you're moving priests down the pathway, and as you move, you get different perks and different things. And as you pass by certain areas, you'll get instant perks, but then you can choose to either move further down or you can pull the priest back to get whatever perk they're already on. So it's kind of like they're making a pilgrimage to the city of the dead. There's even another expansion for it called the Seth expansion, where you're fighting Set or Seth. It can be called either way, where it's like a one versus all, where you're trying to defeat the god Set, which is very interesting. This one, like I said, the theme is not quite as strong, but it is using like Egyptian mythology you don't usually see very often, especially in board games. You'll often see ancient Egypt used as a theme,
right?
But you won't see the Egypt actually mythology used as a.
And I think that's like also overall, there's more historic based board games than there are games based in mythology.
Yeah, generally, yeah.
Like Seven Wonders and shit like that. But Seven Wonders, I mean,
Seven Wonders, there's actually in Seven Wonders Duel, there's actually a Pantheon expansion where you get the favor of the gods from it.
Yeah, because that's more historical, kind of like it's a weird abstraction of historical, but still, it's more historical than anything.
And that one's really cool because they have multiple. Like they have the Egyptian gods, they have the Greek gods, they have the Roman gods, and then they have like the Mesopotamian gods. They got like 3 or 4 lesser known gods, god pantheons that you actually can pick one of the gods from. So that's very interesting that they pull in like lesser known stuff. And then the last one in that trilogy is you got Inish, which is based on Celtic mythology, where that's mostly on the cards. You get these like what are they called, bard cards or something like that.
Yeah, I was about to call them progressive rock albums.
Yeah. Oh yeah. The art is absolutely
so
gorgeous. You draft action cards, but then you also can get these bardic songs cards. It's been a while since I played this.
That's the red cards, right?
Yeah, the red cards that give you that let you play them to do special things, and that's where a lot of like the mythology comes from. All of them are based on something with mythology in that area, and that one's a very interesting one. That one with those cards, that's mostly where the theming of the mythology comes from, because otherwise you're just kind of like you're a guy moving all your peoples to spread out among the world. But there is like Tir na Nog is like a location that you can have.
I love the disparity in like the coolness of and what I also love about that is that the game is it's not the same board every time, because it can set up different. So your Irish island can be completely different every time. But what I love about it is you have Tir na Nog and then you have plains.
Yeah,
and it's just plains. It's like, okay, that's like, what can I do when I'm in the plains? You can leave the plains. That's it. That's all. That's the only special power it has.
Yeah,
you can just walk out of them.
So that's starting out with like some things that I think really drew me in, because like mythology, I love mythology, and it is a theme that like really draws me to that. So these are like some of the ones that like first like really drew me. And when we first talked about doing mythology and board games, like these were some of the first 3 that I thought of. So does anybody else have one that they want to talk about?
I do.
Okay.
I do.
You can.
I think you surprised yourself that you did.
So one of the things I kind of like questioned that I didn't really question with the video games topic, because there's, to me, I feel like I find a lot more mythology connections in video games than board games, and so, and I use like a Board Game Geek, to like try and like get like a basis of a list, and in case there's things I've overlooked, and it considers some games that I wouldn't consider like mythology based. Like it has Shadows over Camelot listed in there. There's one person.
Well, I mean, we're talking, and I'll even say this: we're going to be talking about another trilogy of mythology games. There is a 4th game in that series, but it's after the initial creator came out, and it's called Mordred. And Mordred is based off of the Arthurian legend. And so I definitely like the stories of Arthur, especially with how many times they've been told and retold. Like you have Le Morte d'Arthur, and you have things like Myths of Avalon and things like that, where there have been different ways of looking and retelling it.
So it's like myths and legends.
Like myths, mythology.
Arthurian legend.
While Arthurian legend, while Arthurian legend isn't as ancient as, say, Greek or Roman or Egyptian mythology, and it's not really talking about like gods and things like that, I do consider it still mythology because it's just like it's just like a later version of it.
Okay.
It's this blending of Celtic traditions with Christian traditions in people that, if they existed, they're actually stretched out versions of who and what they actually were.
Which is really like, that's par for the course when it comes to mythology. Norse mythology, a lot of the stuff that we know about it now is the versions that we know now are like, they sprinkle a little bit of Christianity in there.
Well, yeah, because there was really, for a lot of these, tribes of peoples and things like this, and going back even further back with Germanic peoples, you had all the influence because most of them didn't have written language.
Yeah,
like they would have, like later on, they would have written language, like the runic language. Like, if you go back far enough in English history, like for England and that part of Europe, there are English runes just like there are Celtic runes, and earlier, but that's not until much later. The influence of Rome and things of that nature.
Gotcha. That was just a question that kind of like popped up.
Yeah, no, like that's a good one. That's a good one to talk about because it's. And it also, to me, it also throws in the archetype of the heroic journey, and it told across multiple people, because you have to sacrifice so much. Like, one of the things in that game, before you choose to do your heroic actions, you have to choose how evil progresses.
Right.
And so you have to either sacrifice a part of yourself, or the entirety of Camelot has to take on a burden that eventually we all have to eventually resolve ourselves. And you hope that what you're doing is the right thing, unless you are the traitor, in which case. And I think that's one of the things, just the notion of those who were traitors, or basically the true, like, behind the scenes enemies of the mythologies.
Right. Yeah.
Things like you mentioned Kemet, and you mentioned Set, the idea of like this evil up front, but there's also like when you talk about the Norse mythologies and how Loki can generally play into those, usually as a god of trickery. You have things like who was I about to say? Also from the Egyptian pantheon, not Anubis, no.
Osiris,
not Osiris, no, because Osiris, God bless him, he went through some shit.
Yeah,
and so some shit went through him. Set. Yeah, we've already the one I already mentioned.
Okay, I was like,
I'm a stupid.
That's what I thought, but I was like, we just talked about that, so you should be remembering that.
Rather
one.
as Set being like a one against all enemy, just an enemy amongst the other gods.
Yeah,
right.
Yeah.
Not just being like a head and shoulders above everybody else, but also like something that has to compete with all the other ones.
Gotcha.
Yeah.
Right. And that the Knights of Camelot game, like there's a point in that game where you can like get Excalibur too, right?
Yeah,
Like,
that's another, you get Excalibur, you can get the armor of Lancelot.
Yeah,
right.
Get the,
all these,
you find the Holy Grail.
Yeah, the Holy Grail.
Another
which is a mythology that comes from Christianity. So
right.
Gotcha.
Yeah, and you've got when it comes to Arthurian stuff, there's a ton of those. A lot of those are kind of a barely there.
More
theme.
centric on the medieval time period.
Yeah, well, a lot of them are, but then you've got like the game Merlin,
right?
That is the whole point, is that you're supposed to be going on these quests and gathering these materials.
Way more abstract.
Yeah, it's more of a, but you still like you can get your little standee that's Excalibur. You can get the Holy Grail, things like that. But yeah, that is more abstract. There's another Stefan Feld game that has mythology as part of it, but it's barely there. That I'll mention later, but yeah, a lot of the Arthurian ones that I was talking about, like, because you have like the resistance Avalon, so it's the resistance, but it's skinned as Arthurian legend.
That was the first version of the resistance that I remember that had like additional roles that didn't complicate, in my opinion, didn't complicate the game anymore, but added a depth to the game. Because you have one person who knows who all the bad guys are, but he can't play it like that, because at the end, if his side wins, he could still be killed and evil can still win.
The assassin could point him out, and then the evil automatically wins.
Yeah.
Which there was multiple versions of that. I think they eventually just called it Avalon, and then from there was another game called Quest, which tacks on some more rules and changes the way things work a little bit. But yeah, you got the Arthurian legend. There's a few games that do that. I think the most thematic one though is definitely the closest that closely ties with that theme is going to be like Shadows over Camelot.
Right.
Okay.
It's a phenomenal game.
Yeah.
So that's not the game I wanted to mention.
Okay.
But it was just a question that I had.
Okay.
We tangent you out of your
That's
actual
cool
topic.
though.
The game I wanted to mention was Beast.
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 Interesting. I don't consider that mythology.
Okay.
Explain yourself.
So playing it when we played it, for those that don't remember, Beast is a hidden movement / drafting board game in which one person plays a mythological creature in which you're trying to kill the rest of the players that are actively trying to hunt you.
Yeah.
Playing the game and like all like the abilities that the beast in the Beast deck, all the different variety of different creatures that you can play. It reminds me. It reminds me that it makes me think that it has like a heavy like Norse influence in it, and it doesn't.
It definitely has that.
It doesn't specifically say it's Norse mythology based. It says that it's the setting takes place in the Great North.
Yeah,
but like the feel, the atmosphere of it. To me, it feels like this is it. It's a Norse. It's a Norse game.
I would almost say that it feels to me more of a.
I got
like
a fairy
Germanic.
I got a also
like they use Germanic.
I got a Grimm's
stuff.
fairy tale vibe
but
off
to
of
me,
it too.
that one feels like mythology adjacent. Like you can see that these like mythological creatures from different myths. Like the wolf feels like kind of like a Fenrir type thing.
Yeah.
The boar feels like one of the 15 pick a mythology where there's like an evil boar running around.
Right.
Greek and Norse.
The boar's
both
name is
do.
Hogbad. That's my favorite part about that. And that includes a game where one of them is a giant undead frog.
Yeah, I know that there's a frog, but is there like a snake thing?
I think so. Yeah.
Yeah. So like
For
the
me-
evil the monstrous serpent like is all over mythology, and so I think that they like took pieces of these
Boris.
and kind of like threw it in there. Well, you got Jormungandr, the world serpent,
Yeah.
things like that.
For me, having read through Vesson from Free League, Norse, no. But would you say Beast is Nordic? Yes. That has those notions and hints of Nordic horror that I first got introduced through Vesson, which really kind of I hope they do. I would like them to. I can't remember. I think it's Pegasus Spiel that does Beast, and I would like them to pair up with Free League and bring in some of those Norse. See, I made the mistake.
Yeah.
Nordic monsters from Vesson.
Yeah.
and add them into that game. Like
a Beast RPG would be cool.
That would be pretty cool. I would like.
Sick.
I would like the Hollow Children from Vesson to be the monsters that you have to hunt. Like that.
Okay.
That you want.
Frightening.
I want to evoke horror.
Yeah.
and that is terrifying.
Frightening.
So yeah.
So yeah, Beast. That's an interesting, and that I think that led to an interesting conversation
For sure.
Absolutely.
Like I said, I feel like they really they took some stuff from different mythologies and kind of made their own thing.
Yeah, and it's
with
kind of
that,
hard
but
to
it's
talk
good.
about these games without talking about some of the adjacencies because, like, there's so many Viking games that are not necessarily tied to any sort of like.
Yeah, a lot of them are just like a historical type thing. Like you got a Feast for Odin. Like
It's
it has
not-
Odin in the name,
It
but
does,
it's
but it has
literally
nothing to do
It's
with.
literally just being a Viking.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's more historical to me
Yeah.
than anything else.
What's it's like Viking. It's one of the just a date. It's
It's one of the Academy
yeah,
games.
it's one of the
Yeah, like
Academy
Vikings 978 or
yeah,
something. Yeah.
like that.
Where the Vikings came on shore to England
Yeah,
and
right.
were tearing shit.
Yeah, so you got those games. So just because it's a Viking game doesn't necessarily mean it's
Right.
a. But then you got I think something like Champions of Midgar.
Yeah, Champions of
That's
Midgar.
got-
That's
got
more
some mythology stuff.
mythology in it.
in it. And then whatever Reavers of Midgar. I think
so.
is the sequel to that one.
Champions of Midgar, by the way, awesome game.
I've never gotten to play it, and I really
Awesome
want to.
game.
Another one, it's an older game that I don't think any of us have actually played, but I remember when I was first getting into board games, like this was talked about a lot because it was known as like one of the hardest games. It was a cooperative game, and it was one of the hardest games out there, probably almost impossible to win, and that's Yggdrasil.
Yggdrasil. Yeah.
Yggdrasil.
Yeah. This you're basically trying to fight off Ragnarok. You have all of the every bad guy in Norse mythology is attacking the tree of Yggdrasil.
Right.
And you're trying to stop them. And from what I have been told about this game, most of the time you fail.
Yeah.
And you fail hard. Like it is a
We've
super
mentioned a
hard
trilogy.
game.
We're going to mention another one, but there was like a holy trilogy of co-op games that were impossible, and I think it was Yggdrasil, the original Ghost Stories,
Yeah.
and Zulk and the Mayan Calendar. I think we're the three in
Zulkin
that.
isn't cooperative.
It isn't cooperative.
No,
God, then there's a Mayan game that is cooperative
game.
that I can't think of the name of.
I can't think of that. But Ghost Stories, that's another good one. That's the thing
think
that
I
you don't
played
usually
Ghost
see with the Japanese mythology and a different side of Japanese mythology that you still don't see, the ghost hunting
Yeah.
side of that. So that's a really good one. I still haven't had a chance to play Ghost Stories because you can't hardly find Ghost Stories because Ghost Stories doesn't exist anymore. They reskinned it into
Yeah.
Bastion,
Right.
where you're just fighting off trolls and shit.
And supposedly it's an easier game.
Yeah.
And I kind of want my co-ops to be difficult because if I win with my people, then that's awesome. And if I lose with my people, it's like, well, we were playing one of the hardest fucking games of all time.
Yeah.
I was like, well, how
Right.
can we? You know?
I love Trajan, but it's not.
Yeah.
It's not really
There's a lot of those that are like set in a time where they would have some kind of mythology,
right, but they're not.
but they're not really
Yeah.
that.
Like, yeah, because you mentioned a feast for like there's something to be said for like the historicals,
Right.
that can have some of the, like when Pantheon is added to Seven Wonders,
Right.
it definitely turns it to a more mythological bent.
Yeah.
But even then, you could still say that making oblations to the gods is something that they would have just done historically.
Yeah.
The fact that you get a benefit out of that may not
Right.
take it all the way into mythology.
Well, there's a lot of things that are like tied to the time period that would have been, like you said, like for example, like not that I've played any of them, but like while doing research for this, because I've played a handful of mythological based games, but I haven't played a lot. And come across there's a slew of Christian themed board games that based in like certain historical time periods, which are tied to it, but not necessarily involving worshiping God or anything like that in the actual gameplay.
There is a horrified Greek monsters
Yeah.
one that doesn't
very
necessarily
recently
involve.
came out.
It doesn't necessarily involve the Greek pantheon. It's just the mythological monsters that
Yeah.
you have to fight, like the Minotaur, the Cerberus, the Medusa.
Okay,
Yeah.
so let's ask a question here because you mentioned horrified. I want to talk about the American cryptids version. Do cryptids border on mythology, or are they in mythology? And have you ever asked that question yourself? Because I'm thinking about that one right now.
Yeah.
I think for me, just going back to what we talked about when we were comparing like Arthurian legend and myth to Greek mythology and Egyptian mythology. At one point, you have like in Greek mythology, those were gods people worshipped.
Yeah.
Arthurian legend and myth is something that, like, sprung out of stories of real people and turned into, and who knows, that might have been what happened in the Greek mythology and the Celtic religions and all of that.
Yeah.
Turn into actual things. Nobody's probably, well, I mean, nobody's probably like, praying to cryptids, but as far as like, comparing it to Arthurian myth and legend, I would say so. I would say they are. But
I would guess that like somebody would argue that like you have to have something of like an ancient religion for it to be like mythological type thing.
I'm just saying, I've seen quite a few like hunting Sasquatch TV shows, and they pretty much just worship Sasquatch at that point.
So what you're saying is,
well, according to that
History
one, there's
Channel
like
should be
thousands of them all over the place.
Exactly.
the History Channel should be called the Mythology
They
Channel.
just always just miss
And
them.
it started with insurgent.
But yeah, it could be very much argued that like something like cryptids are like a more
modern
recent
take on
mythology.
myth.
Hell, people argue that like superhero comics nowadays are like are what we replace mythology with. Like they're modern day retellings of like just
Heroes.
their
Okay,
mythology.
question. Did you think about superheroes when we came up with this topic? Like, and like
No,
talking
because when
about them?
because that it could be argued that like that is a thing, but like I didn't think about superheroes
No,
because
and
like
there's no judgment.
when I
one
talk
way or the
about
other.
mythology, that's this it's we more land on like an ancient when we talk about ancient worlds or like but even then like when we talk about mythology, also there are things that of religions being practiced now. Like there are people who still practice Hinduism, but we but
There are
the
people
idea
that-
of like Shiva and Vishnu and all of these things happening are also mythology.
I saw
as
like
well.
side note. I saw the broadcast of the lighting of the first part of the Olympic torch, and they had a big Greek ceremony in Greece with an actress playing a priestess of one of the Greek gods, Apollo, I think it was.
All right, yeah.
Right. And again,
Was she 14 and tripping balls? Because otherwise, that's not accurate.
It wasn't accurate then.
that we know of?
Yeah.
Did you
we know
ID her? We don't know.
Yeah.
But no, again, no hate for not thinking
Yeah.
about that. But that was a notion that I hadn't really considered.
I mean, it
until
really
you
pop-
brought it up.
It popped in my head, but it was like, no, this is like when most of the general consensus is when you're talking about like mythology is something
Right.
like that.
We're talking about ancient.
You can include like, hey, yeah, superheroes. There's like
Right.
modern day mythology, but like
Right.
when you're talking about like mythology as like a genre or whatever, you tend to like
the notion is everyone everyone points at Greek mythology, Egyptian,
antiquity.
Norse.
People are like
Yes.
aimed at
most
that.
of the time it's antiquity. Yeah. How far back is
Right.
where you want to draw that line. I think the thing that you can see when it comes to like and it's getting better than what it used to be, and this is kind of probably the same for video games too if I sit down and thought about it, but like Greek mythology is like the number one thing. Like if you're gonna
It's the number one
if
they
you're gonna
pull
group
from.
thing, especially with like board games, because
Yeah.
there's like when I was like looking through, and a lot of these games I haven't played, but I like know of them.
Right.
Like Greek mythology is like head and shoulders above like when it comes to like amount of games. Probably Norse mythology comes up after that.
Right.
Then it gets then it drops like.
Well, I
very
think
much so.
also like Greek mythology has a heads up on everything else because there was so much actually written about it, and around the time period
there wasn't hardly anything like lost ever of that.
all of the Egyptian stuff is like based off of the hieroglyphics, and then most of the Nordic stuff and Norse stuff wasn't written down until the Christians.
The Christians came in. That's
around
why,
like the prose errata or however Edda, and then the other one was written by a guy in like the 12th century.
Yeah.
So, there's no telling on that.
Yeah. And I think just that's been in like the forefront when people think of mythology. They generally, at least for a while, I think it's changed a little bit. People are starting to like pay more attention. Like I remember when I was younger and I was obsessed with mythology, like you could always find something about Greek mythology, but like finding out about Norse mythology when I was younger was a lot harder.
Right.
And it's kind of pushed more now. Like you see it now.
in middle school, our school library had a dedicated section to Greek mythology.
Yeah.
Well, yeah, of course.
Yeah.
I watched Clash of the Titans every time it came on television.
And saying
Harry
that
Hamlin. Okay, so for like a month now, I've been trying to think of his fucking name when he mentioned that off-road fucking movie.
Oh,
that
yeah.
was the trailer.
Oh, that's right. That
Jesus
was.
Christ.
And I couldn't think of his.
Oh!
Yeah.
Oh,
That's been fucking burning a hole in the back of my head for a month. And I just remembered his name, and now I don't have to have cancer.
we watched that last year.
Yes.
That was forever ago that you mentioned that.
No, we mentioned it briefly,
And
like as an
IMDb is a
aside.
thing. You could have looked this up at any
No,
fucking time.
motherfucker. I have a mind, and it's somewhere in there, and I want to fucking have my brain. And it found it.
You're welcome.
Oh my God, Harry Hamlin. He was on L.A. Law
Jesus
with
Christ.
Corbin
So,
Burnson.
Mentioning, I'm just going to mention a couple of Greek mythology ones, and that's going to lead into one that I know Jay has mentioned he wants to talk about. So you've got Elysium, which is like a card drafting game where you choose, like, every god has like different decks, and you choose them. And it has a really interesting mechanic where you have these pillars with these symbols on them, and you have to have certain pillars to be able to draft the card. Like you might need a green, a red, and a yellow, and your yellow pillar, and these might be the colors, these might not. It's been forever since I've even seen the game.
You describing it makes me believe I've played this before.
You might have. I remember Shmoo bringing it out like when
I
it first
probably
came out.
played it before.
But you
too.
have to have these in front of you. But when you take a card, you have to remove a pillar. So you have to be careful. You're trying to get as many before you run out of pillars to take. And they all have different powers on them, and all the powers are like, you know, the Ares cards are more aggressive, and I think they're also do things with like attacking people, and like the Athena cards do something kind of similar with her stuff. With her, what she's known for and everything like that. So that one's a very interesting one that I think kind of has some theming with it. And then you got ones like Deus, which has the Greek gods, but that has less of a theme,
Right.
stronger theme. But it's about it's kind of like a tableau builder where you're building up this tableau, and at certain times you like create kind of a stack of cards, and you're trying to have all of them go off at one time. But both of these came out kind of the same time. But so that's a couple of like kind of well known when they came out with using Greek mythology. And that leads us to one that, like I said, I know Jay wanted to talk about. And this goes with when we talked about when y'all talked about sci-fi mythology and bring that together.
Yeah.
And that's Lords of Hellas.
So Awakened Realms, I production wise, and this is always kind of a backhanded compliment.
Yeah.
Production wise, they're one of the best as far as like producing high quality like things to look at on the table. It's to me, it's having reconsidered. It's less science fiction and more kind of like not even aura punk, just kind of an aura style as far as the artwork goes. It's definitely not just your standard like this is what the Greek gods look like. There's also a bent towards the dark to the darker side of stuff, because you see that in this. You also see it in Lords of Ragnarok, and something that we didn't touch on, but because he brought it up as far as the Arthurian legend, you have Tainted Grail, which I think also comes from them, which also is playing
That's
with
more of a campaign game.
And it's definitely a more campaign game, but it's also a darker take on the mythology of the Arthurian legend. Again, they always look good.
Yeah.
They always when
you could argue that most Awakened Realm games are style over substance. Like they want the game to look pretty first, and then they kind of.
I've always had a problem like Lords of Hellas, less so, because I actually got to sit down and there's a lot of stuff. I think Cyclades does it better. I think Ankh does it extremely better.
Ankh is so good.
Yeah,
we'll talk about that
as far as a area control on a board type of game goes, not so much on the it's different mythologies there, and I want to kind of separate from that. But I guess just what I would say is I don't feel the theme as much as I do in, say, something like Cyclades or stuff where the mechanics kind of match what you'd be doing.
Yeah.
Kind of match how you would like go about, again, how you making sacrifices or things to the gods as far as that goes. Like you call upon the gods in Lords of Hellas. It's way more like just, oh, this is just a thing to do in the game. I think that's where a lot of Awakened Realms games kind of fall flat, where they have these very strong themes, and on the art side of things, they knock it out of the park. I will never begrudge anyone for liking Lords of Hellas or Lords of Ragnarok or Tainted Grail or Nemesis for the look of the game.
Yeah.
They nail the image. It's the gameplay that to me always kind of comes second place.
Yeah, so some things I've heard, Lords of Hellas is definitely one that I've still kind of want to play. But it's based more on like Greek mythology, right? And then Ragnarok is of course based on Norse mythology. I've heard that like there's some changes because Ragnarok is kind of like a sequel to Hellas, but I've heard that like there's some changes that don't really work very well. So if you don't like Hellas, you're definitely not going to like the way Ragnarok plays because they kind of make some things worse.
Or maybe those changes that are bad for some, maybe like, I will say this, Efka from No Pun Included had I want to say scathing, but definitely a critical review of Lords of Ragnarok. I've never played it before. Going off of his and going off of if it is something like Lords of Hellas, but more, maybe say more, not more complicated, where the primary loop is worse than it is in Lords of Hellas. That does not appeal to me.
Yeah, and from what I've heard about things like Tainted Grail, I've seen people give positive reviews to them, but like Tom Vassell was like, Tainted Grail and a lot of those other campaign games that they do are really good if you play them solo. If you just play through it, but like the more people that you add to them, the more complicated it gets, and it gets very annoying.
Those games on Kickstarter are like north of what, 300?
Yeah.
When they kickstart.
Yeah.
That is $300 for a single solo experience. Like you can make the argument if you ever go out and buy.
I'll be honest, like with Final Girl, when I bought like the whole shebang of it, I paid about a couple $100 for it, but that is like a lot of like different, there's a lot of variety in that. That's not just like one thing, one campaign that you're playing through. That's like multiple games. But yeah, a game that's like that, in a lot of ways overproduced, and things like that. Like Scythe has a solo mode. I don't ever want to play it because I don't want to pull out all of that stuff and get it set up.
Yeah.
Just to play a solo. Yeah, and break down.
For me, it's the same thing with Cyberpunk 2077 Gangs of Night City.
Yeah.
There's a dedicated solo mode in that game, but I have to bring out this entire. There was no neoprene map for it, but there's the board and then all the stuff and that. I want to share that experience with other people because that is screaming for other people to play with you.
Yeah, and like I like playing solo modes, but like I don't want to play a thing that's
also Final Girl solo mode is nowhere near the setup and breakdown.
Well, yeah, it's made to be. It's not as quick because of it all being together, but like if you had a single thing, like it's very quick to set up and break down.
Yeah,
it's not a very difficult game to do that with. But yeah, that I'm just saying, like that's what I've heard with like Tainted Grail and stuff like that. Like they have in one of the other ones, but it's not Mythology, so I'm not even gonna figure out. I'm not even gonna try and remember what it is. There's some games I know that like have some mythology in them. Like I was thinking of like the Unmatched series that has a lot of like mythological beings in it.
Yeah.
Especially in like the Legends Volume 2, you've got Achilles, you've got Sun Wukong.
You also have like in there. You also have
Sinbad, King Arthur.
You also have people that were real people but have ascended to mythology. Like I think of there's a 2-player box that's Oda Nobunaga.
Yeah.
And Tomoe. I can never remember the last name.
I don't know her name.
But it's two people that were real people, but the stories around them have grown to the point where they almost are by themselves mythological characters. But they were also like real people with real lives and like real like positive and negative characteristics, which is it always kind of more intriguing for me.
I had a list of like barely the theme is the mythological theme is kind of barely there. You got Oracle of Delphi, which is oddly enough, I think one of Stefan Feld's a little bit more thematic games, but still it's just kind of pasted over.
Yeah.
Raw, I think is it's
From Mr. Reiner Knizia.
Reiner Knizia. It's a very like you don't have to have this theme to play this game.
Yeah,
It's more about
it could be at almost any auction.
like especially like the new one like looks gorgeous
Yeah.
with the Egyptian stuff with it, but it's not one. It's just an auction game.
I like because I own the Windrunner version of it, and what I loved about that board is where the raw tiles go. It's slightly recessed, so it kind of locks into play, and it gives you that notion of okay, this is going here, and it can't move.
I
because
watched
it
a
has its own
review of
spot.
like the really special version of Raw that just came out, and that was a really nice version. You got 5 tribes, which has
Djinns of
has
Mikala,
Jin in it, but that's barely there. You just kind of use the Jin to do special things, and they don't really like match with anything.
Yeah, because the real game on that board is the Mancala game that you're playing with everybody else.
Yeah. Does anybody have anything else before we get to our kind of capstone? There's one more thing that I wanted to talk about that I haven't played, but I know about.
I cannot think of anything off the top of my head.
I think it's probably going to tie into what you're going to talk about.
Okay. Well, just right before we do this, so there's a game out there called Cthulhu Wars, and
yep.
I'm not talking about that game.
Oh.
He made another game called Glorantha, where it's very similar to the God's War, where it's very similar to
This is Sandy
Cthulhu-
Peterson.
Sandy Peterson, yeah. For some reason, his name flew out of my brain, but it uses it's very similar to I think I think it was a sequel to or it came out after Cthulhu Wars. It's very
It definitely came out
asymmetrical.
after. I think it is a spiritual successor.
Yeah, there was a quick second where I thought about getting this game because it uses like the humongous overproduced minis. But you're playing like different gods, and you're and it's very very like it's more asymmetrical than even Cthulhu Wars is. Like super asymmetrical. And also I've heard very unbalanced. But
yeah, of course.
That's how Sandy Peterson balances his games.
Yeah.
He unbalances every other side in a different way, and then it's the play like it's the cosmic encounter example of everything. If you have the one alien race that is super ultra mega powerful, everybody then gets involved. It's like, okay, we got to team up against them, and that's where that kind of shifting oil on water really starts coming into play in games like those, where the players have to balance the game. It's not like something like in StarCraft or something like that, where if you have two sides, one is like depending on how things are balanced in that game, one side is going to have an advantage over it. And I would also say, I've seen Glorantha plays 3 to 4 players. Or with the Empire's expansion, 3 to 8 players.
Yeah,
you can add 4 whole players.
That's just a second game added to it.
Just bolt it on there. Maybe not bolt it on there. Maybe it flows a little bit. It flows into it just as is. But no, it's never 2 players, because if you have something that's overly unbalanced, one other person cannot unbalance back against.
Yeah,
there's always has to be that third head on the Hydra that's biting against the other 2, or the 2 biting on the 1.
Yeah, like I said, it's a game that looked very interesting, and I thought for a quick second about getting, because I think it was several years ago. This was before even 2020. I think it was on Kickstarter.
It officially released 2019.
Yeah.
Most of Sandy Peterson's games, from at least his board games, from what I recall, most of them are Kickstarters.
Yeah, I remember I almost Kickstarted it because it looked really cool.
Yeah. Jody, Cthulhu Wars, Duel. He made that.
No.
The same sized miniatures. Cthulhu Wars, Duel. DUEL.
Yeah,
the first
Sandy
time
Peterson doesn't do anything half.
The first
measured.
time I saw that game was in TBS Comics. The first time, many years ago, and I went, man, that box is really big, and I went, man, that box is $250.
Yep.
Then
Yeah, then. And then I looked at the back of it. I'm like, man, these miniatures are the same size as the box it's holding.
Yeah.
there was, I think, his last Kickstarter where the final goal was, hey, if you haven't bought any of it yet, here's all of it. All of it.
Right.
$700.
Yep.
Man, that's like the Street Fighter game that Angry Joe was.
I will say this right now. Cthulhu Wars is miles ahead of the Street Fighter.
Oh, I'm sure it is.
It just is. I think of that. I think of Kingdom Death Monster.
Yeah.
This is less on mythology and more just on of supernatural big boxes with large things.
Yeah. Yeah, you've got a lot of those that are kind of, it could be argued overproduced.
You can buy a new copy of Glorantha for $129.99.
Oh, that's not too bad.
That's not too bad at all.
It's not too
But that's
bad.
just the 3 to 4 player game. I want the 8-player game where I have to imagine Sandy Peterson comes to your house and just slaps one of you.
I'd be annoyed without, because I'm certain that they're like, it's missing some of the gods that were in there, which is like there's another mythological game called Mezzo, which is kind of a dudes on a map, but it's Aztec or maybe Mayan.
Yeah.
It's Mesoamerican.
Yeah.
I'll just say that.
Right.
Mythology.
Close.
And there's been a couple of times where I've seen it on a really good sale, and it looks like a fun game. It's just annoying because it only comes with so many gods for you to play as. The rest came in like Kickstarter, and it's like super expensive to get them. So I think from the looks of everybody, we're about ready to do our little capstone to talk about.
I want to talk very Zolkin, because if we're going to talk about Zolkin, you're right. I'm still trying to remember which one was the co-op version that was also the Mayan stuff. Yeah, that one I think is more connected to it because the machinations of the calendar, I think, are really well put together in that gear setup that the whole board has. And it's weird. So you have rondelles that affect the position of other rondelles on the board, and I think it's just a fantastic. I think it's fantastic. It's one of those things that produced on the board. I think is fantastic, and I think there is some links to theme in there because of what you were doing and how you're trying to accomplish things.
Yeah, I still haven't played that game. I want to. So yeah, we're gonna we started with a trilogy of games, and we're going to end with a trilogy of games that is more, closely connected because these were all made by the same people. This is called the Eric Lang Mythology Trilogy. Starting with we got Blood Rage, which uses Norse mythology.
Drafting game.
Yeah, they're all dudes on a map, but they do different. They're all, and they have a lot. They have some of them have some drafting in different ways. But in this one, you draft cards to. Some of them are used for combat. Some of them are used to get monsters or.
There's some cards that care about the warriors that are in the halls of Valhalla.
Yeah, they give you special abilities.
Are they eating there?
Yeah,
quite possibly.
Good play. I've heard the restaurants in Valhalla are delicious.
Well, I hope they are.
Oh my God! What if there's a Po Folks in Valhalla?
I knew you were going to say that.
What would the
I don't
accent
know.
be?
Also, Rising Sun, right?
Yeah. Then we got Rising Sun, which has there's some like negotiation in there. There's also drafting of like actions. You're forming alliances. This uses Japanese mythology.
Some yokai going on.
Yeah, you mostly got like yokai, the demons and the monsters and stuff like that. But then you also go pray to the gods, and they
you
give
have
you
some
favors.
turtles.
Yeah, they and there's also like one of the expansions lets you actually bring the gods down into the thing, the map and everything like that. Which there's also one of those for Blood Rage, where you can like use the gods as things. And then the last one that the most recently came out is Ankh, Gods of Egypt, where you're literally playing as the gods, these big giant miniatures.
Yes.
And you're trying to be this one I think has some of the strongest like mythological theming because you're trying to be the last god because this
by far,
because there was literally a part in Egyptian mythology where they went from pantheism, where they have hundreds and thousands of gods, to we just got one god. We're a monotheistic. We're gonna put one guy decided, hey, this is too much. We're gonna smash all these together.
Right.
You get one. So And this is kind of an abstraction of you playing that out, trying to be the last one. And there's even a mechanic in there where at certain parts of the game, depending on how many people are playing, two of the gods that are in the least were like, hey, we're not going to make it. We got to merge together to become one god, and then we can maybe take on the rest of the gods that are left. So yeah, and I think they do a really good job of like all of the gods, what they're known for, their special powers, matter. Anubis is all about taking dead warriors and taking their power into themselves to make himself more powerful. You got
Osiris is all about like taking over the land and like claiming it for the lands of the undead.
Creating portals to the underworld. Set, if he's next to any of your opponent's warriors, they count as his warriors, so he's making people betray themselves. You got
Sobek floods the land like his ridiculous alligator ass would. I'm just saying.
You got Thoth, who is all about like kind of intelligently gambling and figuring out if what you're playing and things like that. Ra uses his sun powers to power up different people, your warriors and things like that. So I think they do a really good. I think I think it could be argued that of all of these, like this is the one that has like the strongest theming to like the actual mythological theming.
Specifically, like Blood Rage, you're playing a tribe of Vikings.
Yeah.
In Rising Sun, you're playing a clan, a samurai clan in Japan.
Yeah.
In Ankh, you are legitimately the god.
Yeah.
Right. You are the god that is facing off against all the other gods. So immediately there's also power in the theming there. There's also like, it's like how many followers do you have that will, basically summon the locusts in on your side rather than the other side? Because if everyone's praying for everybody else to die, only the loudest prayers are going to be heard there. I think there's a lot of good theming in there.
Yeah.
I will say this. Talk about the negative side of things. The mythology side of Rising Sun is the reason why I didn't kickstart it. Because I was initially told that Rising Sun took place in the Sengoku Jidai. I did not know about the mythology side of it. I knew that it was the follow-up to Eric Lang's Blood Rage, which of the three, it's my least favorite of that because of that finickiness of either everybody needs to know what they're doing or nobody needs to know what they're doing. Right. Otherwise,
that is the issue with Blood Rage.
That draft is going to fuck up along the line. And that can cause for very uneven things, like where the first round of the game is already over.
Yeah.
There's similar issues in Rising Sun. If you don't know what the best route is and someone takes righteousness and then you don't buy righteousness and they can buy righteousness again, and then every time they die they're getting victory points, and then they're just going to seppuku everybody that they have.
Right.
It can lead also to some very like interesting end of games as well, because we had one person who never won a battle. They always lost their battles, and they came in second place, and they were almost incredulous. How did I almost come in second from this? It's because it can work out that way.
I think I won that game mostly losing.
Yeah.
That was me, Jay.
Yeah.
No, I was talking about Derek Sharp and his wife, who's no, that was the CoastCon game.
Oh, okay, gotcha.
Where she was like a point off from winning. The only reason why she didn't win is because Jason Sims was playing that game, and he had gotten 7 provinces.
The last time I played, that happened to me.
Yeah, where you almost won it just on.
No. I somehow got second place because of all my dudes dying all the time.
Yeah. I think for me, Blood Rage is like my least favorite, but I think all three of these are like excellent games. It's just, especially with Blood Rage, you have to like have that. Games can run away if you're sitting next to somebody who hasn't played it before and doesn't know, like, hey, because sometimes you really gotta hate draft, and you gotta at least know like what cards are out there. So you have to have played it a lot. But they're all three of these are like really excellent games. Dudes on a Map area control games are some of my favorite types of games, and I think all three of these do a good job with them. This is 3 of a quote unquote trilogy of games that I think you could have all 3 of them and you don't feel like they're stepping on anybody's toes.
Yeah, they're all vastly different from each other.
Because they work very, very differently. I think sometimes, like with Rising Sun, the negotiation portion is a little overblown. You don't do that as much.
You don't
as
do
think
that
you
as
do.
much, no.
But it is still you play that differently than you're gonna play Blood Rage. You can't play them the same way, because you're gonna lose.
And Ankh too.
Ankh too, yeah.
And to go back to my point of why I initially didn't jump on the Rising Sun, even though it's now one of my favorite board games of all time, I was told that this is Sengoku Jidai. Oh, cool. Let me take a look at this. Oh, there's demons. Oh, it's like the mythological bent actually worked against me, and to an extent, I still want to have that game, but instead of that, be the personalities of Sengoku Jidai, like have Oda Nobunaga, have Toyotomi Hideyoshi, have Hattori Hanzo, have these historical who, like I said earlier, have risen to a mythical status because of the stories told about them. To introduce the gods into that works, but for me, it would have been better as a historical game. For me, again, eventually I bought it because the primary loop is so good in that game.
Yeah.
But you're right. It's it's clans of samurai, and what are the schemes behind it? No, there's no scheme. It's like, hey, you want to be friends? Or do you want to be friends? Oh, you'll give me a koku if you'll be a friend? Okay, we'll be friends. And that's the limit of the negotiation in that game.
It's weird because also like allying with some people in that game is very important, because otherwise you only get to activate when you activate something instead of getting activated when you and another person do it. You only get to activate the one time, so it does put you at a disadvantage if you don't ally.
I've always considered Ankh in this regard, whereas it can be played very well across all player counts. For Rising Sun, 3 and 5, because if it's 6-player or 4-player, it's like, okay, I'm going to group up with you. Well, then we have to group up, because if we don't group up, they just have so much more authority. Now you have some options, like you can take the betray action, and it doesn't give you the negative of breaking an alliance and of losing that alliance, and then like losing honor and things like that. You can just take betray and you suffer none of the negatives. But that's only when it comes up on your turn, and does getting 2 people losing things and you gaining 2 things, does that really help you? Maybe not. Who knows on that? But in a 3 to 5 player game, you really have to negotiate hard, because you can't be that odd one out.
Yeah.
Because then you have 4 people that are getting souped up, and you have nothing. Or you have, I won't say you have nothing, but comparatively to that, you have what is closer to nothing than something.
Yeah. I think definitely with that game, I think 6 players is actually too much for the game. But I'm okay playing it at 4. I don't think having. I get what you're saying. I get what you're saying, but I don't agree with it. But it's
I think Lang's design meant to cap out at 5, because, like you said, once you get to 6, that game, that 6th player adds more time than what it's like 30 minutes per player. I think it's maybe 30 minutes per player up to 5, and then when it hits 6 player, it then turns into 45 minutes per player.
Because they did that also with Blood Rage, where I think it's really supposed to be a 4-player game. You could play it 5-player. I can't remember if it goes to 4 or 6. It's been a little while since I played that game, but it does have like an additional player that you can add in there. And I think if you play that max players, it doesn't work like that. It's one of those that's it's made for max this, but we're going to tack one on. Sometimes that's another discussion for another day, because a lot of board games do that.
Specifically, a discussion from the past, our 11th episode ever, which was Buzz Chatter, the Eric M. Lang Mythology board game trilogy, which you can check out on
I literally
our
just forgot that we did that.
To be fair, that was it published on May 31st, 2022, so that's almost 2 years ago.
Yeah, and I think we also talked about some different things with there, more about how the theme fits with the mechanics of the game.
We got way more in depth in the games themselves, definitely.
So,
and as far as a backdrop of mythology in games and the themes of mythology within games.
So I think that pretty much finishes up our main topic, unless anybody else has anything else So yeah, just let us know if you like mythology as a theme for a board game. Let us know what your favorite one of those is. What type of mythology do you like? We've talked about it for the last 2 weeks. So let us know, like, hey, what is your mythology that you think is really cool? Are you a basic bitch and like Greek mythology? That's fine. You know, somebody's got to like pumpkin spice lattes.
Or Kalamata olives, as it would be.
But
I hate pumpkin spice.
It's just nutmeg, people.
So
I don't like nutmeg.
It's just nutmeg.
Yeah, it's really doesn't have anything to do with pumpkins. It's the spice that they put in pumpkin pies.
Yeah.
But yeah. So Jay, tell us somebody to do Whiskey and Wrestling. I'm gonna tell people what.
There
to
you
do.
go. There you go. Assume authority. There we go.
Yeah.
Whiskey and Wrestling. Michael Hill and Jason Holder take you through a week's of news and views in the world of professional wrestling, including reviews on matches, reviews on storylines, and just the general timbre and flow of the grapple graps. And in addition, they pair that with a libation, usually whiskey, but sometimes another high-spirited spirit. Have they ever done a beer?
I don't think so.
I don't think so.
Michael
recall.
and Jason, do like an IPA, like do the Stone Cold IPA and see what it's like.
Have a Miller's
The
Light
Broken Skull
and hate
IPA.
yourself.
The problem with those is like then you have to buy like a 6-pack of them.
I'll
Don't have a Miller Lite.
I'll guest on the show. I'll get yeah. Give me a Broken Skull IPA. I don't want you to
IPAs are like drinking a pine cone.
Whiskey and Wrestling. It's
I'd
like
have to
drinking a
agree.
pine cone.
Jody, tell us about silence your cell phones.
Jared Hubbard and Kevin Sheldon. Sometimes they talk about they talk about it all the time. Movies, TV shows, streaming.
It's in
What's
the name.
what's hip? What's not hip? Baby Fallout. Maybe the
What's
Deer
Cool
Hunter.
Cat?
A24 movies. Maybe they'll watch Zone of Interest. Check out Silence Your Cell Phones.
Hello, teens. What is hip with you today?
Ethan, tell us about the Completed Podcast.
The Completed Podcast, a Magic the Gathering centered podcast hosted by Christopher Vega, Brendan Scott Tanner, and Brandon Smith. They talk about the ins and outs of competitive Magic and its various formats. They have deep dives with deep in thought conversations and interviews with professional Magic players, with Brendan Scott Tanner being a former pro player. They talk about their relationship with the game, experiences, going to competitions and road trips. Check them out, The Completed Podcast.
And hey, if you want to hear Jody talk about some straight up horror movies and not just horrifying movies, listen to Fearology, all the places where podcasts are.
By that, Spotify.
Jay, tell us about the drumming podcast, whose name I can't remember.
Stephen
at
Nelson
this moment.
II and Jared Taylor bring you Bearded Drums.
Bearded drums. That's what it is. I knew it all.
A conversation on drums from gear to gigs, along with live performances recorded and presented to you from Mr. Stephen Nelson II, available on YouTube and all major podcasting platforms.
Jay, please edit that to where it sounds like I knew exactly what I was talking about.
I'm
the whole time.
gonna add echo to your stuff. It's gonna be
Of
great.
course you are.
There you go.
Because that's your toy right now.
Yeah, it's great. No, like watch. Hello, I saw you, I know you, I knew you. I think I can remember your name.
Jesus. So yeah, if you want to, we talked about the Lorcana set championships. If you want some more Lorcana cards, or if you want anything to do with D&D, or if you want anything to do with some board games, if you're looking for a Catan expansion, they got that.
If you're looking for a board game we might have talked about,
Most of them they don't have, but that's not their fault. Yeah. Jesus Christ, it's late.
It is.
Come on down to Goshen, Mississippi, McNarb Gaming. They just, like we said, they just got the Army Painter Fanatic line. Washes, technical paints. They got sets. They also got wet palettes. The wet palette looks pretty cool.
if you're looking at Magic the Gathering, they have products from Outlaws of Thunder Junction.
I will take
Yeehaw.
take your word for it, because I am Magic the Gathering blind. When I look at it on the shelf, it just looks like a
You see a person wearing a cowboy
It's
hat.
just static. It's just a static block.
Combined-
I always wonder what's up there, but I don't care to ask.
Combine the two. Buy Outlaws of Moo Mesa, and then open up the packs, and then
I
take
used to watch that cartoon.
and then take the paints and paint a new picture on it, and then try to sell it to another shop for money.
Coming soon.
It's like back to back with Biker Mice from Mars.
Universes Beyond, Biker Mice from Mars.
That I would actually buy
he
that
would
one.
buy that.
I would buy the Silverhawks one. That's for sure.
So join us next week where we talk about. Is that everything? I think that's everything.
That's everything.
It better be at this point.
Join us next week where we're going to start our. We decided to do a theme month because that makes it a whole lot easier to choose what topics you're doing.
I pray to God it does.
So we're doing Star Wars month.
Yes.
Hopefully we can come up with 4 topics and then not have to worry about it and come up with things the Monday before. So yeah,
We've never done that. We've always been.
Yeah, we're
It's always the Sunday
super
before.
professional.
This show was
We're
definitely
more
not
organized.
We
more
always
organized.
we always put more than 10 minutes of research into things.
quote air
every
quotes
single
2 days
time.
before the show was recorded.
But yeah, we're gonna start Star Wars month. So we're gonna be talking about all of the things that are Star Wars. We're gonna try and keep it positive because I think there's more positive than negative.
Dexter Jetster, we're calling you out.
Yeah.
Gloomu Ooptu.
He wore
calling you out.
He wore the white tank top better than Padme in Attack of the Clones. Prove me wrong. So for Travelers on the Omnibus, I am Brady Davis.
I'm Jody Kite.
I'm Ethan Skinner.
I'm James McCarthy.
Good night. Good luck. All that whatever the fuck I don't know. Fucking hit that shit so we can get out of here.
That shit so we can get out of here.
Hit that shit. Reggie Bush got his Heisman Trophy back.
Oh,
Good for him.
wonderful.
Or maybe didn't he get it taken away
Yeah,
for a reason?
yeah, because he took money from USC so he could buy his mother a house.
Oh, okay. Yeah.
I don't blame him for that.
Mm-hmm.
I'm just saying.
Get Mama a house.
Mm-hmm.